Certainly impossible can happen.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 9, not number 8 as it actually says in the title of the Twitch stream. My name is HiResVox, we'll get that updated very shortly. And to those of you watching us for the first time today, I want to say a big welcome to not just our Twitch viewers, but also the viewers of this cup going on today on YouTube as well. That's right, for the first time around, ESL Go4Paladins is being broadcast to YouTube Live, so hello and shout out to the YouTube audience. Welcome to the show. We hope you enjoy your time here today. And since we have this brand new audience, there's no better opportunity than now for us to re-go over exactly what this stream is all about, exactly what the Go4Paladins Europe Cups are, and what we'll be expecting to see today. So to kick things off, we have the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cups. You can see at the top there, we're currently in Cup number 9 of this series. And the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cups are a monthly repeating circuit of qualifier cups followed by a monthly finals. So we have 3 to 4 qualifier cups on every single Thursday of the month. And then on the final Thursday of every month, we have a monthly finals featuring the top 8 teams via point standings that are accumulated throughout the duration of the week. And those top 8 teams will be fighting out for the chance to win a piece of the prize pool, which is guaranteed 500 euros at the end of every month. And we also have every single week up to 400 euros in cash and in-game prizing available for all of these players who are interested and have signed up and are ready to compete. And if that interests any of you as well, then you can find out more information about the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup series via esl.pm/Paladins ESL. And now for those of you who may be watching from other regions such as North America, there is actually an ESL Go4Paladins Cup, there is an ESL Paladins Community Cup that goes on every Thursday as well for the North American region. And if you go to esl.pm/Paladins ESL, you can find out more information about that as well. Otherwise, as said, my name is HiResVox. You may recognize me from Top 5 Plays and a couple of other things, as well as some other esports events. I'll be joined tonight by a couple of other commentators as well. We have iHoldShift, who will be joining us on the mic, who you will recognize from events such as the Paladins Masters LAN and the Paladins Invitational at HRX, and hopefully, if everything is going according to plan, the wonderful and familiar voices of HiRes, Pretty Hair, and Rain Day as well. We've got 34 teams checked into this week's Cup, which means we will have a round of 64 bracket, but we'll be picking the broadcast up from the round of 32 in just a moment. So sit back, relax, enjoy just a little bit more music whilst we do get those games selected and ready for you up on your screen. And we'll be jumping in to the very first game, the best of one round of 32 in just a couple of minutes.
My world is turned upside down. Why can't I sleep or eat right now? Ever since the day we both walked our separate ways, I'm better than okay. We both walked our separate ways. I'm better than
Hello and welcome then, champions, to game number 1, the only game in the round of 32 set between Royal Blue Esports Paladins and Real Amigos. My name is Hi-Rez Vox. I'm joined on the mic to start things off by Alan I Hold Shift on a Frio. Buddy, how you doing and what are we looking at so far in the draft?
Doing great. We got two, I would say relatively new teams, but ones that we have not covered a lot in the last couple of weeks. Left-hand side, we will have Royal Blue with a couple of familiar names, and they're going to start off with the Drogo's first pick, interesting enough, as we saw just about all of last week was dominated by the Makoa first pick. Not the case here. So the Makoa and Droxus picked up second and third, and then in early Maldamba, this was something we saw favored a lot in North America, Vox, and it seems to be migrating across the pond, possibly to picks in EU as well.
And Maldamba just has so much viability as a support right now. They bring crowd control to the table, they bring in a big area heal as well as that targeted direct heal with Mending Spirits, which is incredibly useful if you're going for that Drogo's first pick. Now, with a Master's border around their frame, you can obviously see that this is a Drogo's player. If it does go through to them, that's very well experienced. They may be looking at this point for Makoa counters because they know that they won't always have that first pick potential and want to be playing against it rather than sort of relying on playing around it. On the other side of things, the Real Amigos, their draft so far, they've got Makoa and Droxus, nice counter to Drogo's there, Ying still grabbing the support, and Willow as well. So we're seeing Willow in competitive play now, and I love the pickup here versus Maldamba because it's going to completely deny Gord.
Yeah, and the real big thing, and I've seemed to notice this as well, is that dead zone can be deceiving, especially if you're not playing at high settings to kind of know exactly where it is. And I'll tell you, Vox, it's really tough to understand exactly how long that 2 seconds is when you get out of that dead zone. It's really tough. It really cancels out a lot of healing. And I think it's a pretty decent response to Maldamba Fernando, to be completely candid.
It's going to make Fernando, or at least give him a harder time at staying alive, and also really reduce the viability of Fernando's formidable legendary as well. So likely you're going to see them going into either Aegis or Scorch here. Lex picked up as the final one for Royal Blue, and Real Amigos, they've rounded out their draft with a Barrack as well. So getting a double frontline and Ying online. They've got good double deployable pressure here. Do you think the AoE from Royal Blue is going to be enough to deal with them here?
It's going to be tough, right? I mean, there's a lot of damage coming out for really both sides when you take a look at it, and it's going to be a lot of who can get the opening pick, I think. And Makoa, of course, is really big to get that extra pull and that initiating pull, but at the same point, the damage potential between Shaolin and Lex just in direct damage is pretty nuts. And Drogos, of course, is able to do so much if he hits direct shots. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see.
We'll have to see exactly how it does turn out. Then the first map, if I'm not mistaken, coming up next will be Jaguar Falls. So join us then, champions, as we do get into this first game in the round of 32. We'll have to see how it all goes down from there.
Talk to me honestly. I'm here.
Endless sun as the days go on forever. There's no place for time when you're young. Can't find the words, but we know how we feel. Could we stay longer here in the summer? In the summer.
Hello then, and welcome, champions, to this game at last up on your screens between Royal Blue Esports Paladins and Real Amigos on Jaguar Falls. Once again, my name is Vox. I'm joined by I Hold Shift to the mic here, and let's check out your teams. Starting off with Royal Blue on the left-hand side, it's Jian and Jish playing, at the moment, Combustible Drogos. Emmerich will be playing that recurve Shaolin. It will be Kawa on Aegis, Fernando Chiva on, looks like it's going to be Mending Spirits there for them. Spirits chosen Maldamba, and last of all, Vibes on Death Hastens Lex.
And for the side of Real Amigos, V Goldie will be playing Makoa. Soul Hedge will be using the Barrack Prius on Androxus Santic. Using Willow and Lukish 369 will be playing on Ying. Lifeflag, Scorn, Godslayer pulling out Architectonics. And interestingly enough, a Pluck as the first fight is going to happen right on top of point. Fernando's going to jump right in there, and with the help from Willow, everything's moving in nicely. And Dana just with a double kill with the Drogos. A lot of nice shots. Again, that Combustible doing so much work so early.
And despite the Fernando shield going down right at the start of that fight, due to the Scorn seedlings coming out from Willow, it really is this Drogos that's been doing work so far. And with Aegis on Fernando, that shield cooldown so significantly reduced that their shield is just straight back up again. Salvo goes out from Dian. It looks like it's going to catch a reversal from Androxus, not really finding any ground. And on the objective, the fight continues.
Indeed it does, and Fernando able to sit behind this shield on top of that gore just forever, essentially, and another big Combustible hitting the background, and that's going to do a lot of work twice, actually, as it continues to hit both turrets, illusions, and players alike, and that's going to result in that first conversion. Diana just looking for more, as Ying also very low dimensional, like not going to save him whatsoever, as Drogos, again, continues to find kills.
With that in mind, with this Drogos being completely unmitigated so far, we've got to see somebody really come out and counter them. There's an Androxus on the enemy team, but as Emmerich goes through and picks up one kill, it just looks like this Androxus isn't able to have an impact so far this game. Do you think they need a change in playstyle here, or is it maybe a coordinated play coming out from the team just to shut down this one individual champion who's having such a big impact?
Well, I really honestly couldn't tell you, because it's not just Dianjis who's getting kills, he's cleaning up most of them, but the damage from Shaolin is also absolutely impactful when it comes to being able to burst people down. And to be honest, Maldamba's finding really good heals right there, saving Lex's Vibes is able to win the 1v1 against the Androxus thanks to the Mending Spirits and Gord coming in. Dianjis with a very early ultimate looking for Barrack, will not quite get there, but Emmerich again will clean it up and plant it.
stolen away, and as the payload pushes through towards conversion, that's going to be a 2-0 for Royal Blue Esports Paladins as they push successfully. Let's go ahead and take a look at the itemization coming out from after this round and see what kind of advantage Royal Blue have managed to gain so far. And as we look at the net worth charts as well, Shift, so much blue and so consistent for this team of Royal Blue, appropriately named here, as they've really started to pull ahead of their opponents, and they've started to get rank 2 of this offensive itemization online. Talk to me about why this is so important here.
The big thing about the game is it's not just your team composition, it's not just the way you coordinate, but a lot of the game is won and lost in the item shop. And with that extra advantage, I mean, you can see it on screen so far. I mean, there's no one able really besides Goldie and Makoa to use more than one item from where they started. And that's going to be going up against double wreckers, double cauterizes, and a couple instances of Haven as well. So that's a big advantage when you take a look at it across the board for the entire team. So that's going to be big as far as point control, being able to dominate in point fights. I mean, every little bit of the itemization is very important, and that advantage at 2-0 is very drastic.
It's all about the min-maxing here, folks, and in order to come back from this, Real Amigos, they're going to have to look for maybe some individual outplays rather than relying on that itemization to come through. Willow in the back line was able to drop a lot of damage in their ultimate, but hasn't really found any kills off the back of it, but still, the kills are coming through from the rest of the team. Those Scorn ceilings will zone Androxus off the objective, and with 42 up in cap for Royal Blue, Real Amigos have managed to come back on, and now they're starting to get that barrack established.
And that's going to be really big, especially that combined with the illusions from Ying. It takes a while for them to get their full front line set up simply because of how long it takes to get that cooldown between illusions and turrets to go. That being said, Heat Haze is looking to break this point apart. The Dread Serpent right on top of point, but there's not a lot of damage here for Chiva or Kawa, just the two of them. The Aegis is finally coming in, but now there's a Dome Shield mixed with an Immortal Soul. Everything coming out as far as ultimates. He's just looking for a shot, and he will find Barrack with the Dragon's Punch, so the retake looks to be successful for the moment.
And all the while, Charlene just in the eaves there, up in the sunroom, was able to drop a lot of damage out onto the squad of Real Amigos, and they just didn't seem to be able to really respond to the amount of sustain that was coming out from Royal Blue throughout the duration of that fight. As you said, Immortal used to counter out the damage from Dome Shield, keep everybody alive, and consistent healing from Maldamba on the back of it, just ensuring that nobody goes down. It's just a numbers game of that problem. As Kret likes to say, it's a bit of a math problem, and currently Royal Blue, I mean, they're looking like a quadratic equation. They're up 3-0, and they show no sign of slowing down.
This is really big when you consider, again, the survivability of your front line has been really key in a lot of these matchups for higher teams. You can see Fernando has yet to die on a 10 streak, and the Maldamba has only died once. And those are good numbers. That's exactly what you want to see to establish yourself up front. And it really says a lot about the smartness and the wits of those frontline players to know when their damage dealers are down, they can't stay up there. They need to find a way to fall back. Fernando now falling low with no shield. He will actually finally drop, so that 10 streak going away. And this is good for the defense. That 10 streak getting taken off the board will allow a lot of extra ultimate charge thanks to that streak being active.
And that's going to allow Real Amigos to maybe hold through some of the onslaught of pressure coming out from Royal Blue, not just in a direct sort of little team fight position, but also there using their ultimates to maybe stem some of the bleeding or stay the pressure coming out of this team, as Fernando Kawa has returned to the fight very quickly. But with that little bit of downtime, Real Amigos, they have now got double deployables down around the objective. There are a lot of targets for Royal Blue to shoot at, and it doesn't look like their Drogas is actually doing a good job of breaking them down, but Dread Serpent does come through, and that might just turn the tide.
Yeah, but again, there's no damage to follow up. All the damage dealers outside of Shaolin were low. Finally, Lex tries to jump in, but he was taking a lot of damage just before that Dread Serpent came out. Now, finally, Shaolin able to get in with the Rampage being announced behind us. He's looking for more kills as Androxus in the reversal will not be able to stay up, you would imagine, for very long, but he's still here. Fernando, though, able to spray down with some of that napalm out of that Fire Lance, able to help get part of that first kill, and almost a second, the Law coming out as well to execute Goldie, and it's just insult to injury as now the stagger is very real for the red team.
And the red team just forced back into the base. Real Amigos, they've got to find some way to get back onto the objective. It could come from zone from these ceilings out of Willow, but as they get melted alive, it doesn't look like there's going to be any hope there. The payload's so close to conversion. Vandroxus and Makoa fall, who are in Ancient Rage right now. It will be conversion. Fernando will withstand with their shield momentarily, but will the Ancient Rage buy enough time here?
Doesn't look to be, as Heat Haze came out and Lex was chewing away with both of those magnums, and the 10,000 HP just not enough, especially by himself. So Real Amigos does fall. Royal Blue looking really good with their damage so far across the board. All 3 damage dealers doing a really nice job of finding kills.
Right there as well, Emmerich above 50,000, as you said, above 40k for the 2 other damage dealers of Drogos and Lex there. So good consistent performance across the board. And Royal Blue, they've been around for a few weeks now in competitive Paladins play within Europe Shift. They've started to get their squad together, but not just that, they've started to find some stability here. And this is a bit of a storyline which we see consistently throughout many of these community cups and even to a degree in our official high-res tournaments. It's the teams that stick around for a while. It's the teams that learn from their mistakes and learn from maybe their downfall early on, but adapt to it and are able to consistently improve week by week that really start to come out on top. So I've got high hopes for Royal Blue Esports. If you had any kind of message to say to the other side of Real Amigos going into a Community Cup next week, as to anything you'd like to see them improve, what kind of tips would you give them?
To be completely honest, they didn't look bad whatsoever. I mean, 40,000 damage and a losing effort from Willow is actually a pretty impressive performance. We don't see Willow putting out a lot of damage in comparison to some of the other big damage dealers. So to be able to sit up there with a Drogos and a Lex just in that early 40,000 range is actually a really good number. The big thing is you look forward is how do you best communicate, how you position, what the call is going to be, and how you maximize your ultimate potential. Again, not a lot of synergy in the ultimates that are built into the composition on that side for Real Amigos as compared to the disengages and just the sheer amount of damage that we saw come out. So, I mean, you just have to look at your strengths, find a way to utilize that best and how you want to play the game, and take a look at the replays and find a way to really kind of pick yourselves apart, be critical. You're your own best critic and come back stronger next week. I think they had a pretty decent showing considering we haven't seen them yet. But Royal Blue, again, is a team that has been practicing over the last few weeks, and they're looking really polished at the moment.
And it's great to see. Wise words there coming in then from Shift. And it was interesting to see a Willow this time around as well, Shift, because we just haven't seen her in competitive play really at all so far. So interesting to see players start to maybe utilize her in niche situations where they really want to break up a point fight. But of course, we're currently in the OB49 patch for PC. We've got the patch preview for OB50 coming out later this week. That'll be on Friday, tomorrow, and details about exactly when and where are available on all Paladins social media. But for console, Shift, we've just entered OB48, which is fantastic. They finally caught up at last to the newest champion on their platform, and that is going to be Ceres. And we've seen a little bit of Ceres through in the previous weeks, but a little bit less as she started to fall out of the meta again, only really picked up by a couple of top teams who are looking to get some hypermobile play with her. But she's not the only addition coming through in OB48 for console players. We've also got a couple of new skins to the realm as well, which you've seen demoed on PC for some time. There's Alley Cat Maeve, beautiful in her pink attire there with little kitty ears, and also Biz King, Bomb King. So if you're interested in those, and if you've got a console at home and you're interested in trying out Paladins, make sure you check it out. It is free to play and in open beta on patch OB48 right now. And we'll have some further announcements about console Paladins esports coming up a little later. For now, sit back, relax, enjoy a little bit more music as we get ready to bring you the next matchup, another best of one round in the round of 16. So stay tuned for more Paladins action, and we'll have exactly what match we're going to be watching available on your screen very shortly.
Maybe we can be something new. Are you ready for us? 'Cause I'm ready for you. Are you ready for us? We can be something new. Are you ready for us? 'Cause I'm ready for you. Are you ready for us? To be something new. All honesty, we're slipping off slowly, so hold on to me. All honesty, we're slipping off slowly, so hold on to me. We can be something. Are you ready for us? 'Cause I'm ready for you. Are you ready for us? We can be something new. Are you ready for us? Oh, 'cause I'm ready for you, ready for you. Are you ready for us? We can be something new. Are you ready for us? Are you ready for us? We can be something new. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? We can be something new.
Hello and welcome back then, champions, to this second game of today on today's broadcast of the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 9. My name is, apparently I can't hold words. I'm joined by I Hold Shift, but my name is Vox. I seem to be stumbling as much with that as you were with your pen during the Masters Land shift. Talk to me about what we're seeing on screen so far and what the teams are that we're watching today.
First of all, don't hate on the pen, okay? I got it in my hand right now. I'm taking notes, all right? I need you to step up real quick, Fox.
Wow.
But on screen, Politica 5 is going to be on the left-hand side, a team that we have not really seen much of since the CIS EVs Winter Classic. They do end up going with the first pick, Makoa, something a little more traditional and something a little not so traditional. A Pip and an Inara taken very early, Fox. And I have a hard time finding viability in Inara, especially with how strong Makoa is, and of course Fernando. But picking the Inara this early seems really strange. And Androxus, Drogos, and now Maldaba selected. This is a really solid lineup for Politica 5.
It certainly is. The team in blue here so far as well, the Cassie, and let's just talk about where they'll be playing in a second. They've got a very strong champion lineup so far with Makoa, Androxus, Drogos, Maldamba, Cassie, and we'll be heading to the sunny shores of Frog Isle shift. So it's pretty much your ideal loadout or your ideal lineup for this map as well. Maybe the one wild card in there being Androxus, as they do have a difficult time in closing the gap. But a Masters boarded Androxus, they're certainly going to be well versed at playing around on every map available, are going to be looking for niche flank routes maybe, or just some long distance chip pressure to keep their opponents down. It is interesting to see the double support come out of Game Grover here. We have got Pip as well as Ceres pulled out, and that's going to be very useful at supporting Inara. You know, if Inara can get behind our wall, get Cauterize debuff off her, and then receives a burst heal from both of these two champions, she'll be back up to full health very quickly. But on a big open map like Frog Isle, I'm a little bit concerned about what we're going to see happening with, like Fire Spits going over the top, for example, which just keep this champion in combat the entire duration.
Yeah, the other side of this too, when you look at the Pip and the Bomb King, with the direct damage from Victor and the stun from Inara, I would be very surprised if we don't see a couple instances of resilience coming out for some of those frontliners just to try to avoid all that crowd control, mostly in the form of the ultimates. But on top of that, you also have Grumpy Bomb that can be mitigated, as well as the Warden's Field. Just the time that it takes to get your movement speed back. So it'll be interesting to see what the choices are for each squad. But again, you mentioned Frog Isle, very tight map when it comes to both the payload push route and the central payload point. So we'll have to see who can win in that battle in the trenches up front.
Absolutely. It'll be, well, I don't know. I feel like it's going to come down a lot to legendary choice and the utilization of this Inara and maybe just some niche little elements of Game Grover. But whether they can pull out all the stops and advance through into the quarterfinals, or whether Politica 5 with their maybe superior draft have all the strategies already locked down, we are yet to see. Join us in just a second after we do get our spectator clients all synced up, and we'll be into this round of 16 game between Game Grover and Politica 5 very shortly. And here we are then, onto the sunny shores of Frog Isle, as we have said previously. Vox and Shift on the mic in this game between Politica 5 and Game Grover. Now let's have a look at the legendary choices coming out from these two teams, Shift, as this might actually make all the difference between one and the other.
Without a doubt, Politica 5 will be rocking the blue. MTZ playing the Cassie currently with Exaction selected. Androxus played by Inskibber. Someone to go with at least Darkstalker selected for him. A little bit of power. The Drogos currently the combustible. Mad Mac using the Spirit's Chosen currently. On the Maldaba and Ovim will be using Pluck from the Makoa.
On the other side of things, it's going to be Bomb King. It's going to be Inara, Victor, Ceres, and, Pip as well. Ravio with Accelerant there. Tryback with Mother's Grace. Yarden with Gunnery. Sapari with Mortal Reach. And Z vs first with Catalyst. The fight starts off initially. Cassie finding a lot of chip damage across the way onto many champions, but it'll be Androxus that picks up first blood. Second kill as well, looking for a double, trying to find a triple, but it's not going to happen as the rest of the team starts to clean up. Baltica 5 in blue, looking like they have all the answers. They're writing the book this time around, and they're really forcing this Inara straight back into her base.
This is the trouble with Inara. It's simply the fact that she does not provide a lot of peel for her team. And that instance you saw, everyone just kind of went right around her. They just did like, oh, whatever, Inara's in the game, let's just go ahead and run right past her, kill everybody else, and then we'll take the time to get down the damage-reduced Inara. Of course, using that 20% extra from Mother's Grace, but also getting the Haven early on. So that's a lot of damage mitigation early, but if you can't peel for your team, it's just easy to focus you later.
But speaking of focus, it's actually Game Grover who are coming out on top in this little trade out on the objective. Hold that thought though as MTZ goes deep into the backline looking for damage. And with Saris pulled in as well, the supports are starting to fall for the squad in red. But it was a good retake and a good hold for a while. Game Grover had a very good early game strategy with the amount of burst sustain which they were able to have, but that's going to fall off the later we get into this game.
Yeah, it is, especially once we start getting some mitigation. And on top of that, there's 3 cauterizers on board for Politica, and that's going to continue to make Saris that much more unusable the later the game goes. She's very hard to counter the healing early, but again, that 90% at level 3, and even the 60% really reduces that mortal reach legendary pretty quickly.
Now, on the payload push, Politica 5 going to be looking for a little bit of chip poke here as they do send enemies flying with combustible, and they're going to be looking for maybe some kill potential onto one of these supports again, just to make their push a little bit easier. Without the late game itemization here coming on shift, how do you personally feel that the order of prioritization should go for Politica 5? Who's the primary target that they want to take out on Game Grover as they get this push going?
It's got to be Saris. I mean, she's got such an ability to get health up so quickly early on that you need to find a way to take her down. And she's really hard to kill, though, too, at the same point. So you really need to be mindful of the cooldown of that shadow travel. I mean, especially with running Veil 4, I believe. Actually, no, not running. Oh, well, let me see here. I'm not looking at the wrong one. It's just a Veil 1. So it should be easier to take down. I mean, that cast time not being as quick as we see a lot of people preferring. It needs to be a focus to try to take her down as soon as possible.
And that focus is coming through, but not onto the supports just yet, as MTZ does pick up 2 in a row. It's going to be Androxus finding the damage on the Pip as well, and now turning their sights onto Inara as the payload will continue to advance. The base and the stall being broken, Triback will be forced straight into their shadow travel. They're trying to stay alive, and with 1 minute left on the clock, Baltica 5 are looking good towards conversion, but we're yet to see a lot of ultimates used by either team, and I feel like once these come onto the field, we could see things stabilize here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and that's going to be big for the defense. That being said, the Ancient Rage appeared to have procced. We don't know if for sure it did. I heard the sound cue for it, but we didn't see him get much of it off. Mad Mac able to find a kill, though, on him to the Saris, so now it is just Inara, and that is a tasty target for the Drogos, who's sitting on top of this little, I guess, the potted side of this tree, the wall that's containing it through, and able to find that kill. So with no front line here, Vox, this is going to be really dangerous, and it looks like the Ancient Rage is still active and not fully channeled from the last time that Ovum had it, but I don't even know if he's going to need it, as the payload has put its first 2 wheels on that center circle.
And it's going to be very close indeed. Inara, very tanky on the objective, is going to be able to hold down for a while, but not if MTZ has anything to say about it. Their Cassie damage is so consistent. Double kill, finds the triple. Baltica 5 push through and go up 2-0 on Frog Isle, which is, as we have seen in recent weeks of competitive play, becoming more and more of a map we associate with heavy snowball.
Yeah, and that's the really, really dangerous part of Frog Isle. It tends to be a teeter-totter. If you can win out one big fight, get the aggressive zone, and do it successfully, the tide and the really kind of just the way that the map feels to the players really changes on a dime. It turns on a dime for them. But regardless, this is going to be a tough one for the red team to come back in, because again, the itemization is becoming that much more serious for Politica 5. A couple resiliences, but on top of that, the cauterizers are starting to hit level 2 and above.
Now, what's really important here is that Baltica 5 only have they have 2 cauterized 2s on their team, but Game Grover has managed to at least equalize with one of those onto Yarden, who is playing Victor here. So easy application cauterized coming out for the squad in red. They still have the opportunity to keep this game a lot more even than it would otherwise be, but Inara gets poked out low very early on, being forced to retreat and then healed up as Dragon Punch comes through and Unlimited Power finds absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I think he was looking for the Inara, realized his low HP was going to result in a death and not likely a full target conversion. So he backs up, I think, rather wisely. He's now at 60%. He helps find a kill, and that's absolutely worth in that aspect, as we will get an Ancient Rage on point. But that being said, Vox, this is what happens if you don't get the presence onto the point enough. You will not grant it, and that's the case. Is the red team finally getting themselves a point, and now they're having some room to work with the itemization especially.
And they do, and as we see the mid-round buys start to come through, let's see, we've got another Cauterize coming out as Saris, so matching 2 Cauterize 2 for 2 Cauterize 2, although arguably easier application on Boldiger 5 with a hit scan and projectile alike. Saris, a little bit more difficult to confirm that anti-heal onto, but if you do manage to confirm your successive shots and set up some kills potentially with all that chip damage, it could be devastating. But still, the pincer move comes through. MTZ from behind on Cassie is looking to go big shift.
Yeah, that's going to be what you look for, but it's Androxus who's getting a lot of the domination right now. Able to nether step away so nicely thanks to that Darkstalker. It continues to try to put the pressure down, but Inara just soaks up so much damage. That's really deceiving. Her health pool looks low, but you can't keep in mind that that damage mitigation she has online is going to make it very difficult, especially for these direct damage dealers in Cassie and Androxus to finish it off. That being said, Makoa does fall, so another opportunity for Game Grover to come back into this.
We also have Inara's ultimate available here, which we haven't seen really come out yet in this game. There's a lot of setup potential from it, and a lot of kill potential granted, especially when you've got a Bomb King on your team, if that big AoE stun connects. I'm wondering if we're going to see that utilized on this push here, or if we're going to see it held. With 1 minute left to go, it could be a big setup potential right now, but as Androxus goes up into the air and the damage continues to come from B5, I don't see the opportunity for it to be used at all.
It's going to be really tough, and at less than 200 HP, the Inara will finally fall, and you said that the kills are coming out very quickly for the blue team, and now looking to zone as well as they get a nice pull from Drogos and threaded the needle right there, able to find the nice pick onto the Bomb King. That's going to be really big to, again, keep that damage staggered and try to keep this defense a little bit more up front. Inara is back, though. It's going to be interesting to see how she decides to commit to this, and it will be just a full-on commit.
And
but
trusting the healers
very much so.
The damage coming out onto their onto Makoa was certainly nothing to be sneezed at either. People often forget when Inara gets up close and personal and she lands all of those shots coming out of her burst fire weapon, she can deal a surprising amount of damage. She's a great 1v1 bruiser shift, but Ovim setting up here onto the edge of the map, she's going to throw Inara straight down into the drink, and that's what you got to watch out for with no shields on your team as you do come around to this corner of the map.
Yeah, but both frontliners are down, and a couple of kills actually funneling out for the red side. And with those double healers, granted the Pip is running Catalyst, it's still an opportunity. Nara, you can see mounted up, coming back into the fight, is going to be here before the Makoa, and in overtime, the payload continues to move. No one from the blue team Politica can contest besides the Makoa, but again, Seismic Storm is there, actually a pretty decent wall from Nara as well, just to zone off the Makoa. So an opportunity looming, but still a lot of damage for both sides, and that's going to end with the favor towards the blue side of Politica, now up 3-1.
That just seemed to really be respawn proximity advantage coming through for the team in blue. They're so much closer to the payload cut once it reaches the end of its payload push. If they get one kill and you trade out and you have 1-to-1 going to each team, the defending team will be back in the fight so much faster than the attacking team, and that just gave them the edge to really be able to turn that fight around. And now they're sitting on a lot more in the way of itemization, but so far we saw Game Grover do a really good job in that last game, coming through and getting the retake there, and a lot of that was down to Yarden. Look at their damage numbers here, Shift. 65,000, not quite keeping up with Drogo's, but exceeding everybody else in game. I feel like Boldiger 5, if they really want to win this easily, they've got to look to shut down this Victor player before they start going off on a rampage again.
Absolutely, that's indeed the case. The other good side of this, and I think the person to put onto that task would be in limited power. He's only died once. Mad Mac as well on the Maldava has yet to die. So these are really good aspects. Again, we look at the KDA and what that means as far as your team and limited power able to find a double kill, including one on top of the Victor. So that's exactly what they needed with Makoa deep in the back line, also finding himself a delayed double kill. This is looking good for Politica 5 early, and now Makoa looking for possibly a pull-off map again. And hopefully the Inara is what he's going to be looking for.
Yeah, you want to take out that big body as quickly as possible. Ovim is going to be pressured out, misses the dredge anchor, but still it's provided a little bit of zone, a little bit of wariness from this team in red that they don't want to commit to the objective. And even if Inara does get on, and even if the barrage comes out, as we do hear it, it's going to be Ancient Rage from Ovim, which will stay the tide, and that will allow them to continue contesting.
And the seismic crash channel just lasted too long. It would have had a nice stun effect onto the main part of the point, and it would have actually made this team fight go that much more in favor of the red team, because that is the way it worked. Saris does fall near the end of that, but Pip is still here. Does he commit to staying on point with the Nara? He will. And the Evil Mojo is still active, so a possibility for Game Grover to once again get him for the Dread Sippin on top of Point Fox.
And that's going to be the disruption required just to blast everybody away from Game Grover, but the Polymorph is good coming through. No unlimited power, stays alive, and Tryback tries to contest. Saris using Convergence on the objective will pull unlimited power down. A lot of damage coming out from Yarden's Victor here. Can they find the cleanup? There's one looking for the second onto unlimited power, but Androxus and Cassie take priority, but still, Raviel comes to rescue on Bomb King. They find two slays. Game Grover, they keep themselves in this objective fight. That was a messy back and forth there right at the end.
But really good combination of ultimates for Game Grover, you know, showing that they are an intelligent team. They know exactly what they need to do
intelligent
to find
plays, look at that.
Success.
The wall coming out there from Inara just to lock off Makoa, make sure that the hit scan heal of Mending Spirits can't come out from Maldamba and keep their frontliner alive. Game Grover are demonstrating fantastic play at times during this match, and it's starting to match up to Baltica 5. If they can find the conversion here shift, it'll be all tied up at 3-3, and they desperately need to get that online before the Cauterize gets locked out for everybody on B5 and before their healing starts to become even more just situational.
Yeah, and the big thing as well, Evil Mojo is once again active and ready to go for this Pip, who's done a lot of healing. He's gotten to about 30,000 healing using Catalyst. His damage numbers aren't incredible by any means, but still a pretty good balance for this more kind of hybrid style Pip. Granted, the Game Grover does fall back here, but still a lot of ultimates that they could combine still with the Barrage, the Bomb King ultimate, and King Bomb, and Evil Mojo. This could possibly work out for them if they just need to find one more wipe. They could possibly get this payload all the way through.
And that's going to be started off with a kill from Raviel on Bomb King, who goes up, drops a Grumpy Bomb now after picking Androxus, and that'll zone everybody away for the time being. Catalyst as well from Pip is going to set up a lot of kills here if they can find a good slow and combo, but it's going to be Raviel who's trying to go through with King Bomb, finding damage onto somebody. It's going to be Androxus. They're out of the air, but Reversal keeps them alive for just a second. The fight continues. Pip has Evil Mojo shift. How's this all going to go down?
The thing about it is it's not just Evil Mojo. Yarden is doing so much damage. He's trying to track down limited power and will find him. So a lot of kills coming out for the Victor. Continues to help get a lot of this damage done. And now it's just Makoa on point. Everyone on Game Grover is focusing him down. He's able to stay alive for a little bit, but still no more big bodies on the field for the blue team. And another double kill from Victor. And we tied up at Game Grover getting back with 2 straight points late in the game.
And net worth now being led by Yarden on Victor, finding that double kill, finding so much presence in this match on an 8 streak at 13-13 here so far. So they've taken a lot of falls, but they need to if Baltica want to stabilize here, because this Victor, if unmitigated and unchecked, goes absolutely nuts in this game. If you check out the damage dealt charts, they're over 100k already. And whilst we've seen so much damage come through from this combustible Drogoz played by unlimited power, they're getting counted out now as we get later into the game so heavily by Victor that they're struggling to stay alive, and they're struggling to really provide the same amount of presence. Only 3 deaths, but they're not able to peak as much as they used to because they can't receive that consistent healing from Maldamba.
Yeah, and the other side of this is that gap between damage from what we saw last time to now has closed considerably. That being said, though, Inara is pulled out and is getting low, and that on top of that will also be matched up with a Dragon's Fury. The Dragonfish taking down the big frontliner for Game Grover. Barrage coming up, but not finding a lot of damage. Makoa in the backline is swinging away with his now melee Dredge Anchor, but is again not finding all that much damage, but his presence might just be enough. But nobody's focusing on Yarden. He does finally fall, and now with limited power, getting extra kills. It looks to be possibly another good setup for the blue team, but they still have not put themselves on this point whatsoever.
No, it's 33% to Game Grover, and even though Game Grover are staggered, that barrage used earlier by Victor is already at 42% charge. Now, Baltica 5 are starting to gain some capture control. They still have a couple of ultimates which could be used to zone here by their team, and the combustible fire spits will provide a good amount of disruption, but there is retake potential from Game Grover here. Shift, we're all tied up at 3-3, 60% and rising for Baltica 5. Convergence will be used by Saris, and that's going to start this fight off.
Yeah, but not really much pulled into it, but still a kill coming out of the Mako, which is a really big pick. The Dread Serpent does come out, though, but it doesn't last for all that long. A couple of kills, but Cassie is low. Drogo's trying to fight his way in. He will get the yard in. He saw him focusing him down, trying to take out the damage dealer. Maybe a little bit late in the adjustment, but the adjustment is there to know what he needs to do to give his team the advantage. And now with Inara by herself, she will get focused and dropped, and it looks to be game over. Looks to be game over at the moment as they do fall down to Politica 5, who just barely holds on to the skin of their teeth there.
Yeah, no, the comeback potential was real from the team GG, but it is GG to them in the end. And we say, well played, Politica 5, you get to advance through to the quarterfinals this week. And as we take a look at the scoreboard here, Shift, it's rather surprising to see how well Game Grover were able to come back into this game, given the deficit that they were at in terms of eliminations, just the difference in deaths as well. So many on the table for this squad of Game Grover, but they were able to make it all the way to 3-3. And I want you to explain to me, how exactly did they do that? Because when we see a team that's at such a deficit like this, they've got to be doing something right to be able to come back that far.
I think it's honestly the fact that Game Grover knew what advantages they had. Up front, this is kind of the big storyline with Inara and why I think a lot of people are starting to look at her a little bit differently. 1v1 frontliner versus frontliner, Inara wins just about every single 1v1 against another frontliner, simply because not only of her health pool, not only because of the damage mitigation, but that small little buff that we did get to her damage a couple of patches ago is really starting to hit full value right up front with that stone spear. And that's really big when it comes to being able to stand on point and know that you're going to keep the other frontliner off of it. You saw a number of times Game Grover was actually not getting the kills. There were a number of streaks active in that first capture point that they had active for Politica 5, but the problem was no one could commit to sitting on point. The double support was good enough. You see the healing was very good for both of those players, not quite at the same level of Maldamba, but the burst healing from Pip and the sustained healing from Viserys early on was enough to keep Inara in the game and in the front line, which is really, really big. The big story, though, Vox, is just the sheer number of deaths. I mean, 21 for Bomb King is not what you want to see. That's just too many times that crowd control is not on the table, and that's, I think, where the game was either won and lost, was in the death category.
And we definitely saw how impactful that crowd control was. Beautiful Grumpy Bomb stun coming out of Raviel in order to convert that final payload of the game before the last capture point came out. And if they'd been able to stay alive a little bit longer, maybe hadn't committed straight to the backline with their Accelerant Legendary and stuck around, maybe peeled for the team a little bit, a slight adjustment in playstyle could have made the difference between a win or a loss. But ultimately, we'll never know. And we do say goodbye to Game Grover. They are out of the bracket for this week, but they will surely be back next week, and maybe they'll have made some adjustments to not necessarily their team composition, but how they want to approach these games in the future. Very neat to see the utilization of Inara there in the meantime. But Shift, that's not all we've got today. That was just the round of 16. Let's take a look at the bracket, and if you'd like to follow on at home with us whilst we are going through this tournament, if you're watching on Twitch, you can use the command !bracket to pull up a link to the bracket via Moobot, and if you're watching on YouTube, then you can check out the video description, and you should have a direct link to the ESL bracket there as well. What other games have gone on so far in the round of 16, and what kind of matchups were we looking at? Anything that you were really looking forward to seeing as well?
I think in the future we're going to start seeing the cream rise to the top here as we get into some of the bigger names from the qualifying season over at Hi-Rez's Summer Premier Open qualifiers. A big matchup going on between Royal Blue and Moose Sports. Moose Sports not having their full 5 from this last week, getting another chance to possibly take out another contender at around the same level as them. But on top of that, Team Angry, who's a team that's probably in the top 8 right now, does once again fall to WLG, which is another big squad to keep an eye out for. And the other thing is the new labeled Burrito Esports squad, the former Wolves team getting picked up by the organization, has made it into the quarterfinals as well, and will be matching up against QAZ, who was playing as Don't Be So Shy in the qualifiers. This is going to be where a lot of the teams get a chance to really prove themselves and get a true test of where they fall in the scheme of possibly being a top 5 team in Europe as we move through not only in the month of May for ESL, but also in the qualifying season for Hi-Rez.
And that's just something that which we should also raise up as well. You know, Shift, as we transition from the round of 16, which up until then, we've only seen best of 1 rounds. We're going into the quarterfinals, and for these teams that really want to make a name for themselves and really want to put themselves in that top 5, top 4 spot this week around, they're going to have the opportunity to introduce another element into their gameplay, shall we say. We do have map drafting available for you the entire duration of the ESL sets. It does follow the format of each team gets a single map ban, and then in the best of 1 rounds, you are playing on just the higher seeds map pick. But as we get into this best of 3 round, we do have alternating map picks coming through, so we're seeing teams not just maybe that are coming in with an advantage to this tournament have to be able to play on their home turf, but also play out of their comfort zone potentially. They could be playing on a map which isn't something that they've practiced, or is something which they're less familiar at, or simply could be something which a lot of teams are better at than them, and it's going to be a real test to see who comes out on top in those matchups, and to see who will take the crown this week. For the time being, though, we're getting ready to get into the first of our quarterfinal matchups for today. We've got a little video queued up for you as well. For those of you who haven't seen it, we're going to be taking a quick look at the behind-the-scenes development of Willow, the Summer's Court, the newest champion to join the realm on PC. So let's dive right on in.
We especially wanted to do a female creature. We've done a lot of other female champions, and we've done elves, and a couple of things like that where it's just kind of pointed ears. And in this case, we really wanted to push something beyond just a normal, human physique. We have a brand new champion coming to Paladins. It's Willow. She's a great new addition and one of our first female creature champions.
So Willow is a mischievous fairy creature. She's a trickster, she's fun, and she feels every emotion 100% instantly when she feels it. She's young, and she likes to play tricks on people. Personality, she just likes to have fun.
She's really our first attempt at making an entirely AoE-focused character. She's just totally about fighting groups of people. She's a fairy. She's diminutive. Her wings make up a lot of her silhouette and her hitbox. And I think those two things are really going to differentiate her from the other champions.
Her class is heavy damage, and so what we wanted to do with that is to give her a weapon that would shoot a projectile, but we also wanted it to be lighthearted. The design team and the animation team to create something that looked fun but also felt very powerful whenever you fired the weapon.
So the big thing that we wanted to accomplish with Willow is we wanted her to be a threat to people who are grouping up. You throw out your baby little seedling that grows and explodes, pops out 4 more that also explode, and that's really the meat and potatoes of the kit, right? That's how you're gonna be a primary threat to groups of enemies. Your weapon backs that up. You've got anti-healing for stopping groups from just healing through your damage.
The thing, at least from an animation standpoint, that was interesting about her was she has, these big wings. So besides Durgaz, I guess she's the only other one that has wings that we got to play with, and the treatment for them was different too, because it's not like they're bird wings. So we had to treat them like soft flower petals. So that was kind of fun.
Willow, it's obviously, she's very fairy inspired and a fairy-like race. The other aspect for her was we wanted it plant-based. So we didn't want specifically just a girl with wings.
Fun thing for Willow was really just working on wood and kind of unique and organic shapes. It's not often that a weapon artist gets to break out of the hard surface realm. The way we developed the wood in the vine shape, we're trying to give the community a very broad spectrum of weapons, right? We don't want everything to just be a gun.
We tried to bring something new to the realm. I think Willow's really different, and hopefully she's a lot of fun.
Excited to share with you guys a new champion. Having that kind of ambitious and kind of high octane kind of champion out there with damage, I think is going to be kind of fun, and seeing with her flight and with her personality, how big of an impact she's going to have in the meta.
I'd be the queen of your heart, the queen of your heart. We built our house of cards, but it feels like it's still ours. Skating on the surface of what might have been. Do you wanna be set free? Voices in the sound of the cracks all singing to me. Do you wanna be set free? If you come back looking for me, keep your eyes off the ground. Let me hear to take off for a drive. If you come back looking for me, if you come back looking for me, if you come back looking for me, I'll be walking on ice, paper thin, skating on the surface of what might have been. Do you wanna be set free? Voices in the sound of the cracks all singing to me. Do you wanna be set free?
it go. So just so tight. We found it's alright. It's
Welcome back, Paladins fans, to the ESL Go4 Cup. Joining for the first time today. If you don't recognize my voice, my name is Pretty Hair, and I am happy to be joined by my man, I Hold Shift. We're in the draft here in this first quarterfinal matchup. Koa is going to be the first selection here. This is, of course, Burrito versus who are their opponents today, Shift?
QAZWSX. And,
What a name. How we
Yeah, I know, right? We've been going with QAZ. Just
collection
of
of
letters. This is literally consonants and a vowel is how we'll pronounce them from now on. They do get that first pick, Makoa, and Moomin is the one big name that I think is familiar to some of you guys out there who has been playing with this. I guess we'll call it a branded QAZ team for a while. And this has really been big. I mean, he's been a really solid player throughout, but he's going to have a tough test against this former Wolves, now Burrito squad. And with that Ruckus really pick up, it seems a little strange to me, Nick. It seems weird to just go with that off the bat, but maybe just not wanting the side of QAZ to get that preferred double front line and having the Ruckus early.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the Ruckus is definitely something we're seeing starting to be favored in Europe in particular, not really so much in North America, and early and often as well. Normally picked up during that second pick phase where the red team gets to kind of respond with two picks of their own. But the Ruckus here, haven't quite figured it out myself just yet. I'm not on to this European strategy, but maybe just a decent answer. Maybe good a hook bait for Makoa, I guess is the easy way to put it. Ruckus kind of can put himself out and easily, I think, survive the follow-up burst with his on-demand damage reduction.
Yeah, it's really big with not only just the emitter, but also since the change in legendaries, using that repulsor field away from point helps him really survive a lot longer than usual. But he's going to have to be going up with not just the Makoa, but also the Fernando as the double frontline pick. So a lot of responsibility thrown the way not only of just Androxus and Bombkin to get the damage done, but the solo heal of Saris as well. That's going to be pretty tough for her to get all that healing out to both those frontliners. And it will be a Cassie and a Pip picked up for the side of Burrito. So double support in the face of double frontline, a typical response, especially considering that both the big health pool frontliners had been taken off the board.
Yeah, so a couple of things I'm seeing here with this draft is, in fact, that that double support ultimate, the Evil Mojo and the Dread Serpent is going to probably force these tanks into a resilience pick, I would imagine. And as a result of that, they won't be able to pick up their damage reductions, making it even more difficult for this Saris to keep that healing spread out. Mr. Kizix is actually a level 1 Saris.
Interesting. That's all I can say about that. Thinking,
boys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the draft phase of this. We're going to go ahead and get our spectator clients all synced up, and we will bring this game to you guys in just a moment. All right, guys, we're off to the races here for this quarterfinals matchup between QAZ and Burrito for the first time under their new name. My name is Pretty Hair, of course, joined by I Hold Shift, ready to get this game number one. Introducing some of these legendaries here. Zelly Papa for QAZ has gone with the Aegis, Accelerant for Moments Bomb King. Xexalos yet to select the legendary for his Makoa. Mortal Reach, so the healing style for Mr. Kizik. Saracen, Darkstalker for Toot Toot.
Indeed, and it will be Sibsalu using the Pip. Very dangerous in that character. Currently with Catalyst. Sleepy will be playing the Maldamba with Ripened Gourd. NTBs will be taking the frontline role of Ruckus with the Flux Generator. And Slashwine with the Drogos on Fusillade, who has initiated a pause. And Kawa with the Cassie will currently have Exaction selected.
Kevin, it was, in fact, Pluck that Makoa is on. We can talk a little bit about this while we have this pause to kind of work through. The Pluck for the Makoa, so trying to get as much burst damage as possible. It's kind of funny to see how much Half Shell has fallen off with the change to the mechanics of the shield falling. But as we kind of speculated in the draft phase, Xexalos being forced to go into this resilience pretty early on. With as long as with Rejuvenate, it's going to be kind of that value town build there with the 200 credit items. Do you think because of this, it's going to be, in fact, the Makoa that's standing on the point, expecting to take that CC and the Fernando in the back line, but the Aegis legendary choice for Fernando kind of, makes me question who's going to be going where in terms of these frontliners.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, especially with the fact with double frontline, these two frontliners in particular, you could see that flank Fernando come out. It's very possible that he could be aggressive and try to find an outside route to try to get up on that high ground and push people away. That Flame Lance, although it does not do the most damage in the world, does give you the willies when you see it coming at you. It will definitely make you displace. So that very well could be the case. And I think the Pluck definitely makes sense as well, as you mentioned, just simply because it does help a little bit with that damage category. That 80% on the back end of a successful Dredge Anchor is a lot, to be completely honest, especially against some of these squishier targets. I mean, Pip, Maldamba, Drogos, and Cassie, even the Ruckus, to be completely honest, will feel that pretty heavily in their face if they get pulled.
Yeah, 2 records already being picked up there. I don't know if he wants to go too much into the half shell here. Not only has that fallen off, but yeah, like you mentioned, with the Fernando on board and ready to go, kind of probably take that main tank role. This Makoa just going to be looking to supplement with burst as much as he can, and so much burst for a tank. That's kind of what he's bringing. Both teams heading up to the high ground as is tradition here on Serpent Beach, charging immediately into the fray, taking point with that shield, blocking as much damage as he can. The hook will land, but no pick off the back of it. In fact, it is Xexalos, the Makoa, getting too aggressive. They're going to go down to Slashwine. Simsalo claims a life as well. Very impactful on this Pip character. This is the comfort pick of all comfort picks for QAZ.
Oh, without a doubt, and Fernando's in trouble by himself. He's got to be a lot more careful. Simsalu also playing aggressively on the outside towards the sundial. Will find a kill onto the Bomb King, who was in full retreat. And this is the danger of having Ruckus. Even though he is the solo frontliner, he's so good at putting out pressure. And now you can see him on that top bridge just throwing out those minigun bullets just to get dismounts and to keep the blue team at bay. And it's working successfully as Saris is trying to commit to the point on her own, but will not be able to stand up to the force of just Sleepy's Maldamba. And at 99%, it will finally convert 1-0 on the scoreboard for Burrito Esports.
Already so forced out as we do head into another pause once this payload has been captured. Burrito are now leading 1-0, way ahead on the ultimate charts as well. Ruckus sitting at 64%. So we're talking about burst damage here from this Makoa. Not only can Ruckus survive that, but it looks like he's having no trouble just kind of doling it back out.
Yeah, and then that's really the big aspect, again, is that he's got so much sustained damage, just able to just hold left click and spray all over the map, especially when you keep in mind that the Wrecker is there. I mean, that's just a lot of chip damage coming in on shields. Typically, you would associate Ruckus with the ability to throw Cauterize at people, but needing the help with breaking shield will result in that Wrecker choice. But the big thing here too, Nick, is again, we talk about this so often and the importance of this first point and getting that extra 300 crystals off the bat just to get those items online. It's going to be really big to get some of these extra cauterizers and wreckers early on, not to mention Sleepy, who's going into a Chronos build. This might allow him to invest into a very early Chronos 2, which will help him, again, keeping that Ruckus alive.
Yeah, he's definitely going for that here. In his loadout, he does have many Gourds 4, which will reduce the cooldown on that Gourd ability. It's his Q, where he kind of splatters down all that venom that either helps or hurts you, depending on what side of the battle you're on, as well as the eerie presence. So he's definitely going to be able to spam both the right clicks and the Qs. And this, in combination with the fact that the recent changes to Maldamba's auto attacks, his air friction is what it's called. So basically the drop trajectory of those projectiles getting a little bit more favorable for the Maldamba, landing more damage, I think, over the course of the game. These ultimates are charging extremely quickly. You can see he's keeping up even with the Pip and almost with the Ruckus Kawa on this Cassie. A little bit out in front of everybody in terms of ultimate, but nobody really on QAZ even close to some of these ultimate charges on the side of Burrito.
Yeah, that's really dangerous as far as your ability to set up a defense. I mean, you mentioned the damage category as well. It is just so drastically in favor of the red team. Every single member is doing more damage than the highest member on the blue side. That's not what you want to see. And that's kind of the trouble, too, with their composition is the Bomb King and Androxus, we do not typically relate to being the dominant damage dealers. Even with the best games out there, their output is just not at the same level as even a good Drogos or a good Cassie or Shaolin. And that's kind of the trouble against this squad is, will they be able to find the burst down potential? I mean, Bomb King and Androxus are so good at getting those killing blows, but can they get the damage done early enough to get the poke there? I think so far the answer has been no.
Yeah, and they have the composition to do it, right? Well, you know, I always recommend Makoa for newer teams that are looking to try and find a good staple strategy. Obviously, you can't get Makoa every time, but it is such an easy way to just confirm a kill. You sit everybody behind him, and you bank on that dredge anchor a little bit. But on this map, you know, we saw Zexalos actually be the first one to get picked off, and part of that, I think, is as a result of everybody just going to the high ground every single time, thinking that's really the only way to play this map. There are, you know, other ways that they could go, other ways, you know, get that slight surprise factor off. But if they want to go that basic, they're definitely all going to have to stay grouped up and play off the back of this dredge anchor and guarantee that if it lands, that it is going to be a guaranteed pickoff.
Without a doubt, but out of pause we go, and the kill feed just very quickly afterwards gets a couple of established kills for the side of Burrito. And again, NTB's on this front line is not really so much of a front line as he's just playing aggressively here, getting a lot of healing again from the pocket, healing from Sleepy's Maldamba. And on top of that, Sipsalu is able to keep that potion moving out. The healing potion burst is also really good just in dire situations. Moomin does finally get a kill on the side for his squad, but no one else really able to follow up. And again, Ruckus just continues to reload and hit left click.
And this is kind of the last chance here for this defensive hold. This is the final choke point that they do have available to them as they look to break the base here. Some of the background is starting to fall lower and lower. Toot Toots finds one pickup on the Kawa there, but the Dread Serpent comes out. Going to confirm 2 more kills for the side of Burrito. Now surging forward. Zexalos is very low and appears to be cauterized fairly heavily, stuck under his shell shield for the time being, but how much longer can he survive? Simslo is going to eat a big chunk of damage, and Sarah's keeping this turtle alive, but no longer as she does go down. NTB finds that kill, still relatively healthy, but stunned out with 1,200 health to his name. He's going to be forced to back up, doesn't have any more charges of advance, and will fall down, but the payload's so close to conversion here, about another 10% with over a minute remaining for Burrito to try and find it.
And you saw it, that health pool for Simsalu absolutely diminished after that pluck damage came in. He was able to give himself his own healing potion, but you said that Saris able to heal the turtle back up now that Cauterize was not applied to him, almost instantly getting him back to full HP thanks to, again, that mortal reach. That extra second, getting a full 1,000 extra healing involved is really big to keeping that front line alive.
Jesus, Fernando diving in, his shield not lasting, but mere seconds get shredded through the damage from Cassie, Maldamba, and Ruckus. Just too much. One more pick over on the front side. The sole frontliner left for QAZ has now fallen, both of them off to the wayside here. Mr. Kizik's trying to contest in his shadow travel, but it's not going to last for much longer. The clean sweep of this team fight, Zexalos will trickle out to try and do his best, but the evil mojo makes this payload all but secure, and there it goes. Burrito push it through, leading 2-0, so way ahead in all regards of this game.
Without a doubt, some people might be questioning the use of that evil mojo there at the end. It was a 5-on-2, but the stagger again could have allowed possibly one of those big frontliners to get back in and to take those 2 out just immediately. No nonsense. Get the 2-0. Get yourself that established credit. Don't give the enemy team a chance to do any more damage or to get any more credits online for them. Smart choice from Simsalu. And a really good stun from Sleepy on that reload mechanic from Maldamba, which looked to be an Androxus from Tutu. He was really close to pulling off a backline Androxus, a cursed arm, but he was stunned just before he can get his last nether step off and was taken down for his troubles. So really good play from Sleepy just to avoid that ultimate coming into his team.
Definitely agree with that. So are going to be way ahead here on their item charts, like Shift mentioned here. Just so much of a credit lead. There comes a long-range convergence. Very telegraphed. Don't see anyone getting hit by this on the side of Burrito, and they easily just backstep that one. Mum and already poked out so low. Kawa just finds a great angle. Has a good angle on Kawa, or on Toot Toots as well. So the double kill going to be driven home very easy, very early. Immortal will come out to try and save Zellypapa in the backline here, but one well-timed rocket from Slashwine sends him to his early grave. Shell spinning out the full retreat here from QAZ. Total control of the point. Gonna go the way of Burrito.
Yeah, and looking for extra zoning now again is the red team of Burrito. You can see them trying to get themselves established across the front line of what would be the front line. The big Hexafire right in front of the face, and Dreadserpent mixed up with that as well. A lot of damage, no kills really going away. But now Simsaloo finding two. Kawa's in the back line. The Ancient Rage is up for the Makoa, but again, able to get stunned out by Sleepy, and this all the damage being flipped to both those frontliners. It's sheer decimation, and another full team wipe coming out from the red side of Burrito.
QAZ trying to turn their attention onto Sleepy, but he stays alive. NTB is pumping out so much damage. There's just not enough Cauterize online right now. That's the benefit of being ahead in Paladins. The credit lead and the item advantage you get is just too valuable. NTB is just shredding these team fights and not dying whatsoever. The pressure is just not enough.
Yeah, Simsaloo unstoppable, using that evil mojo to solo out the Makoa. Had a possible target on the Fernando, but just did not have enough shots in the chamber of that potion launcher to take him down. Slashwine finishing off Tutu, who was again trying to find a way around the back line. Good awareness from Burrito to keep these flanks at bay. Now Moomin, who's the only one doing really substantial damage for his team, will also be picked out again. So you can see Simsaloo, one of the better pips, I would say, in the game, able to find so many direct shots. That damage is just absolutely massive once you find the actual body of any character you're targeting down, and continues to find extra poke onto the back line of this blue side from QAZ.
And that's such a big part of it. Simsaloo so strong on this pip. 16 streak, highest in the game right now. Looking for this conversion, looking for the win here. If they can find it, big Dread Serpent comes through from Sleepy. 3 kills already found in this engagement. Make it 4-1 remains. Mr. Kizik will find some damage here with the conversions, but it's just not enough. The big healing potion comes down from Simsaloo, and Burrito find the quick victory here in game number 1, 4-0.
Yeah, convergence was used nicely, but again, there just wasn't any follow-up, and that seems to be a lot of the story with these crowd control ultimates, as far as how do you know if you're really getting the best equity out of it? Is your damage able to quickly turn and convert the damage to where you need it? Very often with Dread Serpents, convergences, even a couple of instances of Seismic Crash, all these big crowd control ultimates, can you find the follow-up? And more often than not, the answer seems to be no for a lot of these younger and newer teams. And that was, again, one of those instances. It hit 4 people on the convergence, but again, it's not enough damage being funneled out. You can see the numbers are mimicking that statement almost exactly.
Yeah, Mr. Kizik's being the only one alive, couldn't really follow it up too much. I mean, Saris is decent in terms of following up her own ultimate, but in the end of the day, it's just not enough with Simsaloo there to burst everybody back up with that healing potion. Phenomenal game, though. From the pip, you could see the only player rocking his, appropriate champion title. 27-1, 20 streak for the pip, 40,000 healing, almost 41,000. Keeping up with Cassie, I think is the big key note there, which is very tough to do, especially for a great player like Kawa. 10,000 healing to his name as well means he is contributing. He's throwing those selfless cues out as well as the selfish ones.
Yeah, that 10,000 healing is usually in clutch situations.
Absolutely.
That burst is so big. A lot of people look at Pip and they say, well, can he really be a solo healer? In a lot of the instance, if you can find the perfect timed healing potion, the answer is yes. I mean, it might not be the biggest numbers, but if it's clutch healing, that's the healing numbers that really matter at the end of the day. But that being said, again, Simsaloo able to do so well, not just in getting that clutch healing out, but 40,000 damage is a lot. That being said as well, 54,000 total damage coming out for NTBs, who is, again, really starting to establish himself as one of those more aggressive frontliners, again, showing his stuff here with the Ruckus.
Yeah, he really is. And that just comes from pure experience, right? Knowing exactly when your team has you back, when you have enough mitigation to stay alive, kind of, ballparking how much damage you think you can take. And, Ruckus being, it's almost like the Victor syndrome, right? Where a lot of times with Ruckus, you're not going to be escaping too many fights if you're already in a bad spot. But what you can do is pedal to the metal and just use the sheer damage that your character is able to put out to try and blast your way out of a bad situation. And that type of experience is something NTBs is starting to show here.
Without a doubt. But that's going to do a first game in this best of 3, if I imagine right. as Burrito Esports find themselves a nice handed victory against QAZ. But we'll take it back to break and go to map number 2, which appears to be Jaguar Falls. So continuing with the Temple Isle theme set, we'll see if QAZ is able to work their way back against the boys of Burrito when we come back.
In this fire, they stood in the fire, it burned with desire, in love and in motion, it danced with devotion. They stood in the fire, it burned with desire, in love and in motion. Dance with devotion. Stood in the fire, burned with desire, love and emotion, dance with devotion. Stood in the fire, burned with desire, love and emotion, dance with devotion. Stood in the fire. Dreaming of the world she used to know so long ago. Looking back when she was young, living wild and free, her life an empty book filled with magic memories. Who is she now? The girl who fell down, dreaming of the world she used to know so long ago. Dreaming of the world she used to know so long ago.
All right, welcome back, Paladins fans. We're here for game number 2 of the draft phase at the least here between QAZ and Burrito. The new guys just picked up, formerly known as Team Wolves. Kawa going to first pick the Makoa for Burrito and send it back over to QAZ, who look like they're going to be locking in the Drogos and the Atraxis. And talk a little bit about why that is such a strong pair to lock in at the same time.
It's really big, especially with the maps that we're going through, any maps in this Temple Isle theme set, just because there are those extra routes for Androxus to move around. But on top of that, it's just the difference between the blaster damage and the direct damage that you get from having a Drogoz and Androxus. Both of them able to find a lot of those respectively. And the crowd control that you could deal with, of course, the Spitfire and Salvo from Drogoz is very deadly when you're throwing it onto a point. And Androxus able to chase down kills so successfully, thanks to, again, those 3 charges, possibly more intermittently if you use the Darkstalker Legendary. That mobility is just really unmatched with any other flanker right now as far as chasing down kills.
So good 1-2 punch here. Locked in for QAZ. Cassie again locked in. Ying this time going to be locked in on Jaguar Falls. Pretty good here. She can hide her illusions behind corners, stuff like that. Fernando Maldamba. Also good selections here, especially with the Drogoz online, but it looks like Burrito are starting to draft some shield killers.
Yes, they are. But interesting with that, Shaolin coming out as a Grover, who traditionally, even though that damage does... Yeah, it was yeah, straight up. That's exactly what it is. I'm glad you got that one through there. And that's going to be fun to watch. I mean, we watched him do this last week with ability to put out a lot of damage as Grover, hitting a lot of those long-range axes. And this is interesting as well with the Ruckus currently highlighted over. If they do decide to go with that, Grover does scale with Wrecker against individual shields, not deployable ones, but personal ones. He does get that bonus damage. So that could be a very juicy target for Grover if he does decide to go into getting an offensive item. I imagine a Wrecker would go nicely against that Ruckus, just able to spam from a distance. But again, you can see the Masters border, Sipsaloo is very apt at being able to use the Grover. So this is a good team comp, I would say, on this map specifically for Burrito. And in the face of this, it's really going to come down to, again, can the damage dealers get it done with Drogoz and Androxus being selected for QAZ?
Absolutely, and it's always interesting to see Simsalow's picks because they're kind of second rate in terms of the meta, but he plays them so damn effectively. It's interesting to see. It was kind of the, frankly, what I felt was the draft on the previous game was just a lot of comfort picks for this roster for Burrito, and they just make it work. It doesn't look as good on paper as some of these other teams, but they just play it so damn well that they're able to pull it off in most any situation. That's going to be the draft, guys. We're not going to speculate any further. We're going to go ahead and get our clients all synced up and ready to rock and roll here for game number 2.
Of the world, she is to know. So long ago, dreaming of the world, she is to know. So long ago.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Burrito leading this series 1-0. This is the quarterfinal matchups. My name is Pretty Hair. I'm joined by Mr. I Hold Shift to cast this one. Desert Shadow going to be the selection for Koa with a Wrecker. Slashwine taking the exaction on his Cassie. Simsalo with a Deep Roots. Focusing Lens for Sleepy's Ying. And Half Shell this time around for NTB's Makoa.
Not a doubt, QAZ looking to get back in will be Drogoz, played by Moomin, with the currently combustible selected. Zelly Papa on Ruckus with Flux Generator. Scorch currently selected for Fernando. We'll see if that changes, played by Tutu. Mr. Kizix with the Ripened Gord Maldamba, and it is Godslayer for Zexalos on the Androxus, and Scorch still being used. So looking for damage out of the Fernando, maybe instead of the Ruckus by chance.
Yeah, so having the two frontliners, they'll probably have that flexibility, but Tutu taking a lot of damage right off the start. Koa going into his planted, not going to be credited with the kill, but the first blood goes the way of Burrito. Nonetheless, there's a second frontliner falling. There's a third kill for Koa, double kill. Could have been a triple if his cheeky healer didn't steal that first one away.
Without a doubt, a really nice flick shot just at a distance to lock down some of those long-range targets. And again, that bow so deadly against shields, and without the Aegis being there, that shield really kind of looked like, you know, you say it all the time, it looked like paper in a hot desert wind or something, as Shaolin is able to take it down so quickly and continuing to pressure out this Fernando as he runs back towards his team. But the shield is back up, but almost as quickly as it's up, it is back down again. Ruck is also taking a lot of heat right on top of point, and these frontliners are melting so quickly. Good tracking from Koa with the planet onto the Fernando once again.
A lot of help here from Simsalo's Grover as well, locking everyone down. You know, guarantees the Cassie, the Makoa are going to be landing all their shots, as well as the focusing Lens Ying, and that is a lot of burst. We've seen this Ruckus fall much quicker than NTBs did at any point in the first game. And, you know, with similar items online, it's just very crazy to see how much impact this Deep Roots Grover can actually have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simsaloo is very smart, very wise of how to best utilize that vine as well. It can be very tricky to utilize it, but he playing more like a Batman style, able to use it like a grapple and just get into the fray or into his teammates when needed. You can see him holding down this left side flank just by himself at the moment, and he continues to just define the pressure, hitting air shots right now onto Drogos as well. A nice root and just jumping over the rock is all the damage, and Moomin understanding his fate out to the deep roots, not able to even move past that. Again, falls and Simsaloo from downtown with these deep roots.
Just unable to miss right now. It's so impactful. 10 streak already, highest in the game. The two healers, actually, the supports here for Burrito. There is the Dread Serpent. Will connect onto Simsaloo, but going to be found another elimination nonetheless. There's another one coming through as well. Getting to the backline, healing up, and the push will go through. Zexalos falls in the backline, and QAZ just with no response here for Burrito, just steamrolling them in both game one and now looks to be game two.
Yeah, Moomin's doing everything he possibly can to try to keep his team into it. He's almost done 20,000 damage, which is right on par with the damage dealers for Wolves. But again, you can see, just looking at the death total, there's only one so far, and it's on the side of Slashwine. He's the only one to have a death, and that came at Moomin's hand. So again, everything just going very nicely for Burrito. They're able to just pair up so nicely, understand when they have an advantage to push, understand when they have to play more centralized. It's just really good communication across the entire team, and that's been leading to, again, all of these really dominated team fights.
Yeah, but even with the solo frontliner, just able to play off the back of what crowd control they have, the Dredge Anchor. And the Deep Roots Grover here, going to be the first one around the bend, throwing some axes out, but it looks like it's going to be the switch up this time. QAZ coming in from the left flank. I like the change in plan here. They've got Sleepy pretty low, no kill just yet. Dragon Punch will come through. They will trade out, which is the big thing here. You want to get that kill. That Drogo's taken down. On top of it, the Whirlwind coming through to keep everyone alive in the back line. No kills found just yet. Ultimates continuing to be expended, though, from QAZ. Not a lot of value found, and now the steamroll comes through. Burrito have their opportunity. All the ultimates have been expended from QAZ. No more gas in the tank, and Burrito roll through to the point, but not before QAZ do manage to find themselves 42% on it.
It was a really good idea, though, to mix up the Hexafire right in the face of the front line and the Accursed Arm targeting the back line. But the problem was there was a Whirlwind on board. So all of that healing in the face of very little cauterize, only a couple of instances of level 1, it just healed everybody right back up without even a care. Those ultimates just did absolutely no damage whatsoever. And on the backside, a free 100-0 payload point, now 3-0 going the side of Wolves. Pardon me, Burrito.
Slashwine starting to ripping through this backline. Double kill found already. Koa here to support as well. Combustible Dot not going to take down Slashwine. One more roll shot might do it, but he misses the shot. Mummin capitalizes on it. Does find the kill. NTBs does find Mr. Kizik, so the healer going to be traded out for one of the damage dealer. QAZ could be in a little bit of a rough spot here with another healer still on the board for Burrito.
Indeed, Shaolin again going into that planet. Koa looking for shots against the airborne movement, able to find one of them. Will he find a second? Ooh, just before he falls, he does get the kill. NTBs trades out the front line, but still a lot of numbers up for the red team, but they're all very low. And another pull from Bees, able to capitalize the second frontliner. And with an Ancient Rage online, will he possibly dive in to look for the kills? Not even necessary, as the double kill comes out for Slashwine. And we haven't talked about him all that much, but his Cassie gameplay is up there, playing as the Hunter's daughter as Drogo's last time with his title, being more appropriately so here with the Cassie. And you can see how much damage he's just able to funnel out. Even in the face of the Immortal, he continues to stay there and try to find some chip damage with a nice Dread Serpent as things start to finally stabilize. Ying also having to get pushed off the map, NTB's in ancient rage. He will not be able to stand up by himself, though. So a good hold, finally, for QAZ.
Yeah, just big ultimate value in the backline there from the Maldamba. The combustible looks like probably what actually launched that Ying off the map. Unable to find the dimensional link back on, but still so much time here for Burrito to try and find this conversion. Their ultimates are starting to come up now. And QAZ, kind of, how much do they have left in the tank here? They just have the Hexafire and the Accursed Arm. Both good ultimates to try and swing a team fight in your favor, but it's all about finding that value.
Yeah, but the problem is the advanced charges have been used and pulled right back into danger. Is Zelipapa who falls, so Hexafire not even utilized, and Maldamba also falling low. The Whirlwind is active to keep everybody nice and healthy, and now with all of the blue team just staring down the spawn and getting a couple of emotes, Ying riding the invisible bike to victory. Another 4-0 in Burrito Esports. Looking strong, looking good as they move their way into the semifinals.
They are, and, you know, with some kind of strange team comps here. The main one being Simslow, I think, running the strangest most of them. Still able to contribute decent amount of damage control to these team fights with his picks. You know, the Pips, the Grovers, very interesting stuff. Can they keep it up as we head later into the turn where teams are going to be more experienced, hopefully able to play around it a little bit? It looks like QAZ has some things to work on here. A lot of low damage numbers. Mummin, though, continuing to shine. I think is the main storyline here, even despite these, you know, these 4-0 defeats in both game 1 and 2. This guy really still able to come into his own, get the characters that he wants. I don't know if it's that's the factor, is Mummin just getting exactly what he wants, what he's comfortable on. The rest of the team's kind of fighting and scrapping for whatever else they can get, but still definitely able to step up, try and keep his team alive in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, and he was one of the big names from the former QAZ team. Of course, it's gone through some changes since then. But again, been a mid-tier team in the EU for a while, still kind of struggling to break themselves over this plateau, as a lot of teams do. And a lot of this comes down to, you know, constant roster changes, maybe just unfamiliarity, but possibly just not having the right pieces for the puzzle. It could be a number of those issues for the moment, but still QAZ still having a nice tournament, ending themselves in the quarterfinals, getting a couple of wins in ESL and kind of riding some of that traction as they go back. And again, this is the big thing that a lot of us are looking forward to in competitive Paladins, is the factor that we are still running the Summer Open Premier right now, Nick.
Absolutely. That qualifying process has now started, guys. This is going to be a big LAN leading up to in July, consisting of, you know, for the North American EU broadcast that we are running, it's going to be 4 weeks of open qualifiers, which already have begun. We are headed into week 2 this weekend of those qualifiers, followed by 3 weeks of round robin play. You can see on screen all the regions that will be competing: 2 NA, 2 EU, 1 China, 1 Oceania. And the big thing here for me, at least, is that 1 Southeast Asia team for the first time in competitive Paladins.
Without a doubt, a number of countries will be going to a regional Southeast Asia scene, in Latin America and Brazil, with a little bit of bragging rights on the line in South America. And Brazil, interestingly enough, is running a very unique format, very similar to like a soccer style. They allow ties in their group stage playoffs at the moment, where each team will literally just play a map each, and if you do not win both of them, you do not get credited with a full win. So a very interesting roster format there. And of course, you can find a lot of these streams across a number of different Twitch platforms throughout the scene. So make sure you do some research and get yourself online to watch some of these international squads play.
Absolutely, guys. That's going to do it for this quarterfinal matchups. We'll be right back with our first semifinal matchup. I will be casting that one with you, Vox. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Champions, welcome to Paladins Top 5 Plays. My name is Vox. The players are ready, so let's get this show rolling.
I guess you could say you are in the hot seat.
The plays start off hot this week. In fact, I'd say they're scorching. A massive combo fireball into Fire Spit melts away all opposition. Weakened, the blue team has good reason to run. The onslaught of damage continues, and a follow-up Fire Spit will finish off Ying to close. What a way to start a game.
You will not collect any Dragon Balls.
From blindingly hot to overwhelmingly greedy, the Drogo's play continues in number 4 this week. Point already captured, the fight rages on. The blue team put under pressure as the red team looks for an aggressive hold. Lex charges in, looking for an easy kill, but gets more than they bargained for. An explosive mistake with devastating follow-up as Ying sucks one of the two rockets to fall, and Ruckus alongside Inara are lost without their allies. Direct hits too strong. All will fall before the dragons. Precision? Close enough.
You're goddamn right.
In third is Gods with Lex, and they seek to bring justice to the realm, no matter the cost. Their magnums pack a hefty punch, chipping down all enemies before them who retreat straight into the path of pre-channeled execution. Triple kill, Tyra tries to turn the tide with Crossfire, but Runic Blast prevents their ultimate from paying off and they're swiftly shut down. Make that a pentakill, all in all, as a long-range Danger Noodle stun sets up the double punch KO. At last, a champion worthy of their name. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think it was over? A god's work is never done. Payload close to conversion. Lex takes the high ground advantage and searches for an ambush. They find Androxus all on their own. Easy kill from the Dread Serpent setup. Grok in Tempest is next to follow. The remaining few from blue team rush in to defend, but it's too little, too late. Victor cleans up 2, and Lex nets the final kill within pursuit. Conversion complete. Gods is truly godlike.
What a load of tosh.
Justice to judgment. It's back-to-back Lex. Dragon Punch takes out the allied Inara on Frozen Guard, but in pursuit lets Eddie Molan track them down. We'll call that payment for their crimes. Peeking into the igloo, Lex's high-caliber round slams shot after shot into the red team. Relocating for the better angle, it's 99% on capture. The situation desperate. In comes the law for a 4-man execution. Situation back under control.
Every time I clean this soup, blood! Just blood everywhere!
Time waits for no one, and we're straight into the action in our number 1 play with an immediate ult shutdown double kill coming through from Bounce House Buck. Barak uses Dome Shield to defend against the push, but steps fatally forwards into a shotgun blast. Recovery active, Buck stays alive to re-engage on Charlene, finding 4 in a row, but still the contest continues. It's an absolute conga of enemies from base to the payload, but one by one they crumble before the impact of Buck's shotgun. Androxus, that dash keeps you nimble, but Bounce House finds the shutdown and stun escape for the 2nd time in a row. Enemy King Mom looks to stabilize, but you're not the only one with an ultimate. Buck Wild dispatches Barak and Bomb King to let the payload roll through after 8 kills in total. Thank you all for watching this episode of Paladins Top 5 Plays. To submit your own plays, check out the YouTube video description and fill out the submission form to show us what you're made of. Don't forget to subscribe to receive the Onyx Stallion mount skin in-game as well, and we'll see you next time.
strange, had my life in my own hands. Meanwhile, I was wasting time, thinking things were fine, but you had other plans. Behind your weak disguise, all the worthless lies, I was wrong and now I know. Don't think that I won't try, this is not goodbye. Turns out I'm on my own. I won't let it go. The right and wrong that you pretend to know. The fire in my heart, it burns in your shadow. The silver lining can begin to rust, and now I get who I can and cannot trust. I won't let you go. You cross the line, you cross the line. Take back what's mine, take back what's mine. You fight your game, they hate your games. I'm not the same, not the same. I won't let you go. All my life I've been pushed around, always lost, not found, but I didn't realize. Like a giant standing in my way, leading me astray. Now it's time for me to rise. I knew I had to find myself. Turns out I'm on my own. I won't let it go. The right and wrong that you pretend to know. The fire in my heart, it burns in your shadow. The silver lining can begin to rust, and now I get who I can and cannot trust. I won't let it go.
Here we go, Paladins fans, for the semifinal set. Burrito versus everybody's got burritos on both sides, guys. It is 50 Shades of Snack, the old burrito roster versus the new burrito roster.
I mean, at this point, can we call them Old Spice?
Yeah.
Does that fit?
Sure,
I feel like there may be maybe a little bit of a copyright infringement there, but it's Old Spice versus New Spice. We've got first pick Makoa. That's pretty Old Spice. Other side, though, we've got Charlene and Fernando, so more back to basics for these teams. This is seeming awfully similar to what we actually saw out of HRX teams play in terms of the champion draft so far, Nick.
Definitely. And the Fernando pretty early, so foregoing the Ruckus this time around, they're going to give it over to the boys of Sneck as well as the Bomb King. So if they draft into any further front line, maybe a Barrack or something like that, it's going to be punished pretty heavily by this Masters Bomb King Lazy getting exactly what he wants.
On the other side of things, though, it will be Sleepy getting pretty much what they want, as they have drafted a Maldamba so far, making sure that that support does not go over to the hands of Bird. But we know that Bird is very well versed in every single support champion in Paladins. NTB's also picking up a Victor for the team there as well, getting some direct damage online, dissuading the Drogo's pickup potentially coming out of Snake.
Ooh,
but
yeah.
Snake are electing to go straight into this Ying and Androxus next up.
Definitely dissuading the Drogos here, which is big because it is such a strong pickup, not only on Jaguar Falls, but against double frontliner, as well as a Bomb King. That's kind of 3 good targets for a Dragon Punch all over that 2,000 health mark by a fair bit. But Burrito, or God, that's going to be tough this game. Snack, looking like they're getting everything that they want here. The final pick for Burrito will be an Eevee. So pretty interesting stuff there. Frankly, I don't know if I'm on board with this Eevee. I don't know who's going to be the really good target for her to go after. Maybe the Andro?
It feels like if it's going to be anybody for me, it's going to drop an Ice Storm onto either Ying or Androxus and just be able to deal with them a little bit easier. That's not going to lock down Lazy's Bomb King, but it will certainly lock down Ying and Androxus, who rely on their movement abilities to keep them safe. So I'm interested to see if that strategy will come out. But that raises a lot of questions as to how the early game is going to go for this game, especially before those ultimates come online, before these teams can start comboing together. It's going to be a bit of a trade. I mean, NTBs has a big tanky shield early game before Rekka comes online, but on the same side of things, there's so much kill potential from Dredgeank here. It could go either way very easily.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of shield killing potential for this Sneck lineup. We'll go ahead and get all synced up and get you guys into this game as soon as possible. This is going to be the semifinals matchup between Team Burrito, who is actually the higher seed because they've competed in all of the Go4 Cups thus far, versus Team Sneck, the team formerly on that Burrito organization. And we're off for this semifinal matchup, the first of its kind. The old Burrito versus the new Burrito, guys. 50 Shades of Snack versus Team Burrito. Bird going to be on the Ying with his focusing lens. Aerial Assault for Bonkers, Ruckus, Accelerant for Lazy's Bomb King, Pluck for Theo's Makoa, and Darkstalker for Sun Commander's Androxus.
On the other side of things, it will be Burrito, and they'll be led by a Slashwine playing Victor with Gunnery. It's going to be Eevee looking to run Wormhole here. NTB's on Fernando with their Scorch Legendary Sleepy, the Snake. Not playing on Snake, but on Burrito, who was previously Wolves, playing against Old Burrito, but they'll be running Ripe and Gourd. And Koa will be playing, that looks actually interesting, it's Desert Shadow here for this Charlene, just making them a little bit harder to track down if Sun Commander maybe comes hunting for them. We know how devastating Sun Commander can be on this Androxus.
So Snack moving out, covering all flanks. Just want to get vision of where this Burrito squad may be moving out. Plucked out from the get-go. Going to be pulled in, but not killed just yet. First blood is yet to fall. Simslow blinking in, blinking out. It is actually 50 Shades of Snack that's starting to fall lower and lower. Currently in control of the point. But no kills falling just yet. Lazy will eat a big shot from Simslow, who gets forced out from that Bomb King damage. First blood finally falls. Sun Commander finds the angle in the backline onto Slashwine. And Deal is there to bail him out. And TV's in the corner here, no real answer. And with this man advantage, Snack put themselves in a good spot to capture this first payload.
So far, nobody from the side of Burrito have been able to get onto the objective. That's the main thing. The zone pressure coming out from this squad has something which we always talk about. They're just so good at us. At last, it's going to be Fernando there contesting briefly, but Lazy's there to pick up the slack. Eevee blinks in, gets predicted by Thiel as well. And that's the prowess, that's the game sense that comes from this team with so much experience, able to predict the wormhole trajectory or the blink trajectory and be ready and waiting for it.
Burge doing his emotes there on the payload while his team does all the heavy lifting out there. And you mentioned the zone from this 50 Shades of Snek roster. All of them so confident in their ability to stay alive and fend for themselves. It really helps them out there. Double kill, long range shot, final blow there from Sun Commander onto Slashwine's Victor deep in the back line. Burrito is forced, already over halfway done with this payload push, looking to break the base, and with this big man advantage that 50 Shades of Snek currently have, won't be too tall of a task.
They have reached a choke point here. This is an opportunity for Burrito Esports to be able to defend. It will be NTBs who steps up to the task here, but all the while the flanks are exposed to 50 Shades of Snake, who keep on dropping damage. There's the Eevee going in, though. There's Big Dread Serpent as well. Is that going to be the answer which Burrito were looking for?
NTBs, right, dueling out with Sun Commander right now, who has a great angle to get in on this backline. Not a whole lot of dashes to work with, though. He is pretty liberal with these. Pops the Accursed Arm on the stun. Kawa, he's going to go down in the backline. Lazy with a double kill. Beautiful crowd control there from 50 Shades of Snek. Continuing to surge forward. 1:15 remains here, but this payload looks like it's going to be all but converted here as the trickle begins for Burrito.
And there we go, Eevee blinking away from that, knows that contesting an ice block isn't going to buy any time from for the team, and that will be 50 Shades of Snake going up to 0. Let's take a look at itemization coming up on the field, Nick. So we've obviously got this credit disparity between the teams. 50 Shades of Snake far ahead of the net worth chart so far by a long margin. It's interesting to see Bird here going directly into morale boost too. We'll come to the rest of the items later, but I personally love this coming out of Bird. We know that typically they're very far away from the team. They're not taking part in a lot of these fights. So they're back on the objective, they're back pushing the payload. Being able to have their illusory rift up and available as often as possible means that they can drop some long-ranged healing onto the team in dire situations if they do get poked out low. Quickly travel toward the team with Dimensional Link, drop some illusions, and just keep the team alive. Especially important when it's only Cauterized Wands online for Burrito Esports so far. The snowball is real.
A very impactful character, Ying, one of the more difficult ones, but can be so effective when not even in line of sight of the fight. Carefully approaching this fight is Burrito. This time around, they don't want to give up that first blood, but Lazy deep into the back line with the King Bomb. He's going to find 3. That's a triple kill for Lazy. Looks like he's starting to fine-tune these ultimates.
Oh yeah, Lazy, a bit of a master of the Lazy EU ultimate as well, and Jack Fools especially has a habit, or a bit of experience there, poppy bombing straight into the catwalks on this map, but seems to have figured that out, has got their trajectory sorted, and as Sun Commander takes down Slashwine, Burrito Esports have no way back onto the objective. If anybody's going to contest, it's got to be Simsalo.
Oh, but a nice trap laid from Lazy to poke him out to about half HP. One of those bombs going to connect, nicely timed ice block here. Simsalo's going to stay alive for the time being, but Burrito just in a desperate spot. 3 members poked out extremely low. Slashline does in fact shut down Theo, so one of those big streaks finally taking down Lazy deep into the backline, looking like a bomb king of old there. Triple kill again for Lazy, the king, the Masters bomb king, is really coming to his own with this character. Koa just comes out of stealth here to be met with Lazy. Only 1,500 HP left in the pool though, and Koa will come out on top of the back of a nice impale stun.
Finally the shutdown which this team needs, and that'll allow Koa to be right at the top towards that ultimate charge as well. Sitting at 97% now, it will be the Heat Haze almost available. That could come in handy if Androxus comes calling, looking for damage into this backline champion. Simslow being poked out low, but there's a Hexafire going around on the payload. Nick, this could be bad for the side of Burrito.
Yeah, Bonker with a double kill with that Hexafire, all by himself, as I might add. And funniest thing here is Koa just comes out of his Heat Haze, shuts down Lazy, and gets so much ult charge off the back of that kill that he already has Heat Haze available again. So shutting down these big streaks from Snek might provide enough ultimate charge for Burrito to get their ultimates charged up and try and mount this defense. Bird continuing just to emote on the point and gets punished for it.
That's a little bit greedy there coming through from Bird. And speaking of greedy, Thiel trying to 1v4 in the backline with Ancient Rage, but almost manages to throw Bees off the objective, off of the edge of the map as well, shall we say. But that will be the defense held momentarily. A bit of a misplay coming through there from Snake. Maybe taking this matchup for granted and just underestimating their opponents, but Slashwine taking very good advantage of that situation and making sure they turn it on its head.
So they still maintain the lead here. So have plenty of time to get this one pushed through. Simsalo gets hooked out and killed before he has the chance to respond. With 55 seconds remaining here, Bonka looking to punch his way through, eating a lot of pressure right now. It's going to open up the back line to Thiel and Bird to aggress, but already losing a man. One of their frontliners does go down. 50 Shades of Sec trying to do, but that opening in the back line was so big for Thiel. He heads back there, finds 2 kills before going down. Double kill for Sun Commander as well, trying to get this push through. NTB's the final to fall, but the Burrito respawns are going to be trickling through, but we'll see if it's enough.
There we go. It's going to be the Desert Shadow withdrawal there allows Kawa to stay just a little bit invisible for a second, but it doesn't matter when Sun Commander's on the field. This team, this squad, 50 Shades of Snake, just dismantle the trickle coming through. Was that another triple for Sun Commander at the end there? My goodness, shut this man down.
Absolutely beautiful setup coming through. Another King Bomb landing. So Lazy yet to miss an ultimate today. He's going to need that fine-tune, those precision King Bombs as he heads into the finals here. But that's just going to be the first game. So still have some room to bring it back if you are a Burrito fan. Give them your support in chat. These damage numbers it's not like they got rolled in that fashion, but just that early snowball pressure. They even got out healed. I mean, Bird just sitting on the payload the whole time, wasn't really healing, wasn't participating in a lot of these fights, but just some key moments here for 50 Shades of Snake, able to allow them to get out in front, and they never relinquished that lead once they found themselves there.
It's a thing where they're just the masters of momentum at this point. One of the premier teams in the European region understands how to push the advantage and exactly when to do so, but also when they can take 1v1s. We saw Sun Commander playing a lot around with Thiel, going deep into the backline, and at times Sun Commander would just be straight up in a 1v1. And if you have a player on your team who has the mechanical ability to do so, then in a matchup like this in the semifinals, sometimes you can get away with it. In future, I would love to see the squad of Burrito maybe look to eliminate that 1v1 from even being a possibility. Make sure that they're always running as a squad. Make sure that they've always got backups so they don't let individual members get isolated and alone and picked off. And they'll have the opportunity to do so, Nick. This is a best of 3 set, and we've got the next map coming up very shortly. Where are we going to be headed from Jaguar Falls, and where are we going to be going next?
After this, it will, in fact, be Serpent Beach. And if we need to, we will all go away, in fact, to an Ice Mines for a tiebreaker. But Serpent Beach going to be the selection. Playing very well on that in their previous set was Burrito. So hopefully that is where they can turn it around against the former Burrito team here. Now 50 Shades of Snack. We're going to go ahead and get that all queued up and ready to go for you guys. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a flash.
I fell for you too fast. Don't know what happened. I really thought that this could last. Wasn't what I imagined. Take a look at what we've done, what we've become. Take a look at where we've gone, from dusk to dawn. If I stayed in your arms, I would've never got this far. find me and hold me again. Hold me again.
Time to get the draft underway for game number 2. Makoa going to be the first pick here for 50 Shades of Snick. Now Burrito with the chance to respond. This is going to be game number 2, guys, on now Serpent Beach. We just saw game number 1. Very convincing fashion go the way of 50 Shades of Snick there. But it looks like our lobby has crashed, unfortunately. So we'll go ahead and get that remade for you guys. Do apologize for the delay, but it should be back up and running shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Out here on my own, you left me broken and alone. Stomach turning at the thought of any happiness you brought. Ooh, you know I never really was the one for you. Ooh, I'm never getting over you. Ooh, you know I fall to pieces for the things you do. Ooh, I'm never getting over you.
You know it's true.
Out here on my own, you left me broken and alone. Stomach turning at the thought of any happiness you.
All right, back at it again here with this draft for game number 2. And it looks like it may have just been a little bit of a mix-up there in terms of the pick order, so needing to remake that one. So it was, in fact, Burrito that did get the first pick here, and they are going to snag that Makoa. 50 Shades of Snick respond with the Bomb King and the Droxus. Both picks that worked out very well for them on game number 1. So now Burrito have the chance to respond, are hovering the Cassie currently.
I'd love to see what it is actually which they do respond with here. Now, Koa has been playing a lot of Lex recently, grounding out for the Hand of Justice title, and they put on a very good performance in last week's ESL with that. But it's going to be the early healer prioritization here, making sure they get that Maldamba support online, which, as you remarked last game, Nick, did actually wind up out-healing Bird. So I think it's a good look here to make sure that that is drafted early by Burrito, and to make sure that Maldamba especially does not go over to the team 50 Shades of Snake. That's too many snakes in one team. They can't have all that power.
Yep, and Ruckus going to be hovered, probably locked in here. Europe, especially D69 and 50 Shades of Snake, have been kind of heavily prioritizing this. We did see Burrito prioritize it a little bit on Serpent Beach. NTBs did have the chance to play it, but that's as a result of not having Makoa, so I don't know if that still is going to be their main priority here, and it is going to be the Ruckus and Fernando. So a lot of mobility, a lot of chances here for Theo to try to play his old Fernando style, where he used to just kind of get in the back line, get in people's faces, and create space for Bird, or for Bunker to kind of dive the back line there on Androxus.
And I really do actually like this Ruckus pickup here. I think that we're starting to see the shift back towards Ruckus because of pure damage mitigation rather than anything else. The damage reduction from Repulsor Field is valuable when we don't have Barrack being quite as strong as they used to be, maybe with their shield cooldown being near infinite. We did have nerfs coming in with, let's see, OB49 in the patch, which actually means that your shields don't go on cooldown until the ability has been destroyed, until that barricade comes down or is destroyed. On the other side of things, Burrito Esports, they lock in a Lex and a Pip as their last 2 picks. So we'll see if that polymorph comes out in big kill potential with the lore as well. And then the final pick as well for the side of Snake, it's going to be a Ceres here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Ceres try and keep both these tanks healed up, especially given how far away from these fights Bird was playing in the last game. Obviously, he can make that adjustment to be able to get a little bit closer and influence these fights. But the big thing I like here is actually the Lex pickup. So Lex kind of lost his ability to poke and fight at long range, but that's just not the style that we're seeing 50 Shades of Snick play. They are getting up in their faces where Lex is going to be most effective. And frankly, I think Koa is just going to hang out here and let all of his kills come to him.
We'll have to see if that's going to be the case as we are about to get into game. Nick, closing thoughts from that draft. Who are you giving the edge to off the back of that? Is it going to be the wildcard Simsolo play with Pip again, or 50 Shades of Snake with their more typical draft of this squad at this point?
It's going to be hard to be decisive here, but I do like the fact that Burrito have gone to the comfort pick Pip here. I think he's very impactful on it, given almost any situation, and it'll be very interesting to see if they can turn it around on Serpent Beach, and I am liking the adjustments in Burrito's draft.
You can lose your halo. You can lose your halo. The lights are fading. Tonight we'll wait past saving. I might not make it. I might not make it. But tonight we lose control. No matter where we go. We're never going home. And you don't even know when I get you alone. You can lose your halo. You can lose your halo. You can lose your halo. Deep in my heart, I hear you calling, but I won't let you in. I'm so afraid that I'll keep on losing, but you're whispering trust.
All right, Paladins fans, here we go. The semifinal matchup, game number 2 between Burrito and 50 Shades of Snack. 50 Shades of Snack currently leading 1-0 here. Looking to turn it around is Burrito with Simsolo on the Catalyst Pip. Death Hastens for Koa's Lex. Exaction for Slash1's Cassie. Pluck for NTB's Makoa. Ripen Gourd for Sleepy's Maldamba is what they are bringing to the realm.
On the other side of things, it's the team with the Snake. It's 50 Shades of Snake with Bonka again going with Aerial Assault here. On Ruckus, Bird with Mortal Reach Ceres. Lazy with Accelerant Bomb King. Deal with Aegis Fernando and Sun Commander with Darkstalker Netherstep. And I really like this pickup from Bonka. We saw them get on some interesting areas of Jaguar Falls previously, and now on a map like Serpent Beach with a lot of verticality, they can very quickly close the gap straight to the enemy backline, as they are doing now, going up and over looking for Simsolo here without a hesitation, without having to wait for those cooldowns to come through. And as the team rolls through the backline, it's a double kill for Theo, a double kill for Lazy. Who's going to grab the final one, or will Simsolo get away, because Theo is going for it?
Dear God, that was relentless. I mean, I guess that's the one way to play around Makoa, right? Instead of letting him drag one of your teammates to him, just throw all 5 directly on top of him, dogpile on the Ancient Turtle, and just take him out. That was a ruthless team fight from 50 Shades of Snack, just rolling through Burrito.
Yeah, pretty brutal coming through there. Pretty brutal play, and Theo again going into the backline. As you said, as you predicted, Nick, I love your calls on this. You know these players so well. Playing that flank style Fernando here, looking for damage now on a Cassie. He's able to take them out with Sun Commander. Slashwine will fall. And Theo is just relentless in their pressure. They're hunting, they're stalking right now. It feels like Fernando needs some kind of assassin skin at this rate, because he's going in looking for individual targets and just melting them away.
Sun Commander going to find that kill there onto NTB's. 2 minutes remain, and this payload is already starting to come up on halfway. Bird pushing that faithfully as he always does. Sun Commander does go down in the high ground window there. Slashline gets healed up. Bonker continuing. Every tank, every frontliner, doesn't matter what role they are playing on 50 Shades of Snack, is just getting aggressive, putting Burrito in just an uncomfortable position. They're probably not used to this type of aggression coming out from all 5 members of the enemy team.
No, and this is actually relatively uncharacteristic, of how we're used to seeing this team 50 Shades of Snake play. You know, they're normally the more measured team within the European scene. They go less for the straight-up aggression, and they go more for the reactive play. They bend, don't break, and outplay their opponents through positioning and similar strategies. But now, just with unrivaled and unparalleled aggression, it doesn't seem to matter. This squad is just not ready for it. Burrito Esports are getting burned away, and as Lazy looks for Simsolo, they're going to try and start this push off again. Barely getting away with their life is Pip.
Bonker narrowly escapes with his as well. Sleepy trying to get everybody healed up, but Lazy getting very aggressive. Sun Commander getting very aggressive. Trades out 1-for-1 in the backline with his ultimate. Still has the Dread Serpent online. When will Sleepy elect to pop this? No one is too grouped up from 50 Shades of Snake. It's just the call to get back and spawn, just to run, just to hide, just to try to stay alive as much as they can, trying to stabilize here. Burrito definitely have been on the back foot for this entire game.
Conversions there coming through from Bird, bringing out the big guns. Is going to be Bonker on Ruckus as well. NTBs is going to be activating H and Rage to finish, and that might be the opportunity to come back in as Slashwine does clean up one. That wasn't the push potential which the squad of Snake were looking for. Fantastic use of counter ultimates from Burrito Esports to be able to withstand, but can they hold just the regular play presence from this team as well?
Good call there to just retreat to the spawn. I think try and stabilize. Theo having to jump off the map just to try and be as least staggered as possible. Trying to get back on his team, but good high ground control coming out from Burrito right now. Sun Commander on 4 does find the pick onto Simsolo there. Sun Commander finds another onto Koa in the backline. Now looking for his third. Slashwine needs one more shot to find this one. Sun Commander pops the reversal. Will it be enough? Lazy comes in for the reinforcements here. 3 for nothing. NTBs is going to fall. 4 for nothing. One final member remains. And Burrito starting to just fall apart. 50 Shades of Snake find the conversion in overtime. Lead 2-0.
Conversion without conversions, that already burned, but let's take a look at the other ultimates available as we get ready for round number 2. Burrito Esports, they have managed to match some double offensive items coming out for their squad, and they're sitting on top of Evil Mojo and the Law. And we talked about how in the drafting phase, if those two ultimates come out together in combo with maybe some area damage, which again, Pip can provide, that's a lot of kill potential. And that might be exactly what Burrito Esports need to come back in against 50 Shades of Snake. But looking at 50 Shades of Snake, they used a lot of ultimates to get the early 2-0 there for their squad. They're only sitting on King Bomb, and I'm wondering if that's going to be enough here, and if potentially Burrito can take the edge just based on comeback mechanic and ultimates combined.
It's going to have to be the big value ultimates here. We'll follow along with Simsolo's Pip, as he's going to be probably the big key, the big initiator to try and quell some of this aggression coming out of 50 Shades of Snake. A little bit of a different approach this time around, not being quite as headstrong. 50 Shades of Snake playing this one a little bit more carefully. Bonker's actually hooked out in a bit of a rough spot, taking a lot of damage. King Bomb into the back line is probably going to look to find Simsolo. It will, but there's enough follow-up. There's enough heal there for him. Theo does take down Sleepy, and slowly but surely this fight is starting to go the way of 50 Shades of Snake, but just barely, as NTBs does pick up Sun Commander and finds his way back to the point.
But somebody is going to have to deal with Lazy. We're seeing Burrito Esports start to make a comeback in here, and Lazy does get taken down by Koa. That's Lex picking up a really important kill there, and now is sitting on the Law. Evil Mojo is still available. Somebody's got to make a move into the objective right now, but nobody is doing it. Simsolo, you've got to buy time for your team here. You've got to activate that ultimate to be able to get in and take one of these big tanky frontliners down. But who's that target going to be? Bonker has been spotted out, and that might be just the one they're looking for.
Bonker getting pretty aggressive here. High ground convergence coming out from Bird. There's a nice Dread Serpent just to split up Theo from the rest of the fight, but immediately comes back
Evil
in
Mojo.
onto Koa, falling lower and lower. There's a nice Immortal that comes out on the point. If anybody from 50 Shades of Snake needs that Haven to stay alive for a couple more seconds, Sun Commander does lose his life as Slashwine over the backside. Theo with a clutch shield, and Snack come away with the payload. Beautifully timed mitigation there from Theo, keeping himself alive with about 1 HP, and the rest of his team providing that front line presence that they needed to punch that capture through.
And that's the late game viability of Fernando, right? We talk about how his shield and his aggression is so strong in the early game, but once the Wreckers come online, he really starts to fall apart in that regard, and relying on that shield just to maybe mitigate a couple of burst attacks and then take it back down and keep on doing damage. Immortal, valuable throughout the entire duration of the game, and if you can preemptively activate it before a Evil Mojo hits you and you don't get polymorphed, it is vital for keeping your team alive. Great reactions from Thiel, proving why this champion is still a comfort pick for them, despite how much we've seen them play Makoa in recent weeks.
So about 40% of this payload pushed already with 1:40 left to go. Just looking for a pick, just looking for a hole to exploit in the defense here. of Burrito. And now 3 members over on the left flank. Lazy moving up to the high ground. And this high ground control has been so important for Sneck. There's a big Hexafire coming off the top of the payload. Will find a lot of damage onto 1-for-1 in this engagement, though. There's a second kill coming through for 50 Shades of Sneck. Theo retreating, trying to get healed up by Bird, who I feel like has yet to die, been barely pressured out in this matchup. Koa finds Sun Commander, though, on the high ground. These tanks from 50 Shades of Sneck are very split up and dropping 2 members already. It looks like they're going to have to take their exit stage left.
Yeah, it's really good grouping coming through from Burrito Esports. With regards to Simslo and Koa specifically, as Simslo is able to keep that mobile flanker alive, and Lex is able to dish out a lot of damage, and especially even more so when the slow from Explosive Flask comes through. And that's been very effective in keeping this payload stalled out so far, but is it going to last for much longer? 50 Shades of Snake, they're on their way back in. Simslo is very low on health and does get chewed through by Sun Commander. That could be bad.
Bonker just unafraid to push forward. Lazy afraid to push forward
Good
as well.
shutdown.
The King Bomb does come out. Huge Dread Serpent, though, is going to split up 50 Shades of Sneck, but for very, very little amount of time here. Just trying to buy some time. Sleepy, the only one left alive, so that ultimate didn't really save anyone. Didn't get a whole lot done. This payload inching closer and closer. Convergence right on top of the payload, daring anyone to come in contest. NTBs is going to do it. Evo Mojo off on the side. Slash1's able to find one. Sun Commander answering back with the Accursed Arm. Immediately coming through is the Ancient Rage, trying to stabilize. 8 seconds remain until we go into overtime. Koa with the Law. Ultimates flying left, right, and center, trying to find the kills. It looks like Burrito able to stabilize here just slightly. Overtime. Lazy pulled in, back up into the air with the Poppy Bomb, but he's going to get around the corner. Theo's now back here in overtime. Can 50 Shades of Sneck find the crack in the armor?
They've got to burst Theo down, though. Burrito Esports, if they want to stall out, and they do before Ceres' Mortal Reach heal comes through. Bonkar as well, stunned out on the objective, just shut down. And that's going to be Burrito Esports able to defend successfully. They at last get themselves on the board. 1 point so far out of 2 games, and they do have potential to bring themselves back into this. Nick, what happened in that last point fight? That looked so good from Snake, and then they just crumbled.
Just really clutch ultimates, putting it all out on there. So Burrito not with any ultimates left in the tank. It's going to be a hard point fight to win as a result of that. But that was actually such an extended overtime engagement. I mean, some of these ultimates, 44% on the Law, 56 on Scout, 50% on Evil Mojo. So they've got a lot of ground gained, and that's the kind of decision I like. You know, we got to pop these to stay in the game. Not only are they going to stay in the game, but they're going to work their way about halfway back to these ultimates as well. So definitely strong play from Burrito there down the line to just keep it together against one of the best teams in EU Paladins.
Really key, really crucial, but we'll see if that presence of mind continues. Theo gets pulled in straight away on the backside of this fight. Very low already, might get forced into Immortal, and is going to burn the Immortal so early in combination with maybe a Hexafire as well from Bonkar, but that's so rapid into this fight that those ultimates being completely off the table allow Burrito Esports with comeback potential now as they push towards the objective.
Those were the 2 ultimates that 50 Shades of Sneck was looking out for. Sleepy's actually falling very, very low here. Needs to be careful, but 2 kills already going the way of 50 Shades of Sneck is going to make it look grim. There's a Ripened Gore coming out to try and slow Theo's advance. Actually hooked in. Lazy finds an angle into the back line. He's going to start steamrolling everyone. 2 kills already found. NTBs will be the 3rd triple kill for Lazy, the game, and the set for 50 Shades of Sneck.
Great play coming out of them right there at the end. You know, I was wondering myself, is that going to be a slightly too early utilization of Immortal? But it wasn't. It allowed positioning advantage to come through from this squad, 50 Shades of Snake. They're able to maintain their presence on the high ground and then come in with a great flank out of Bonkar. We've seen some very aggressive Ruckus play come forward this game, and that's definitely showing up in the stats here today. 20 and 5 are eliminations to deaths, 0 solo kills, highest streak of 9, and 63,000 damage. That is certainly a stat to go home with proud. That actually exceeds both of the stats of Lex and Cassie on the opposing team of Burrito as well. So a lot of consistent damage and great tracking coming from this master of their class.
Yeah, I think Theo being left a little bit to his own devices in terms of keeping himself alive, and in combination with the aerial advance legendary, the mobility choice for Ruckus, just allowed Bonker to kind of do whatever he want with good communication, I'm sure, and a umbilical cord from Ceres to try and keep him alive. We saw him go. That's basically the most aggressive I have ever seen a Ruckus get, and I watch a lot of War Doom play this game, so that's definitely saying something here for Bonker, knowing exactly when to get in and get out. Part of that knowledge, I mean, that comes from just being, you know, the Godslayer. I mean, just look at his title, playing that type of character, knowing when to go in, when he can get out, when, how, where to get out is all very important questions that Bonker is going to have the answers to no matter what type of character he's playing.
Right, that's exactly it. And you give Androxus 3 charges, you give Ruckus 3 charges, all of a sudden the gears are turning inside his head. He goes, I know these similarities, I've seen this before, and that very aggressive play comes through to a fantastic showcase. But that was the last we're going to see of Burrito Esports today, at least on broadcast, and they are down but not out just yet. Burrito Esports, falling from the semi-finals, will be heading through into the bronze place matchup for today, where it looks like they will face up against the loser of WASD Sports versus Flashpoint. And before we get any further, Nick, this is actually a really big matchup which is going on in the lower side semi-finals. We'll have to see exactly how that's going on and bring you updates if it's not quite finished yet. But WASD Sports, you know, they were the 3rd seed out of Europe, the Gauntlet team going into the Masters LAN, and then they fell flat following the Masters LAN in the Go4 Cup. And last week they came out very strong, taking out Burrito to gain 1st place overall after Burrito beat out District 69 whilst they were Wolves at the time. So it's going to be a repeat of last week's finals in the in the bronze place match this week, and I can't wait to find out how that goes down. But also, we've got plenty more competitive Paladins action joining you very shortly. Talk to me about the console wars that's going on at the moment, Nick. We talked about console Paladins earlier in the OB48 patch that we're on, but what's going on in the realm of console competitive play?
Very exciting stuff coming through here for console esports. This is one of the it's a pretty unique event in terms of console esports overall. It's going to be 6 weeks of open bracket competition here, and the top 4 teams from both NA and EU, split between PS4 and Xbox, will be fighting for not only platform pride but their regional pride as well at these console wars. It's going to be a really exciting event to try and kick off and celebrate the open beta launch of Paladins on both PS4 and Xbox. So if you haven't done so already and you are a console gamer, go ahead and download those. It's going to be completely free, and you can go ahead and sign up. Details for that is definitely going to be on the Paladins Esports website. That's esports.paladins.com if you are interested in finding yourselves a trip to Spain and maybe $25,000 for you and your friends.
That's certainly something which I'm looking forward to. You know, we're all going to be there at DreamHack Valencia. We'll be bringing you live coverage. And whilst we've got PC Paladins going on a lot of new regions to the realm, it's that cross-platform play which I'm so looking forward to, because I can't wait to see how heated these players get and how heated the games get when you put, as you said, platform pride on the line. But that's going to be it for the time being. That was the last of the semi-finals today. We're going to be back with the grand finals of today's ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 9 coming up shortly, as soon as we have our second finalist team. Champions, welcome back to another episode of Paladins Top 5 Plays. My name is Vox, and let's dive right on in.
I'm not insulting you, I'm describing you.
Bugsy on Kinessa, a familiar name, a familiar champion, free-firing on Fish Market as their team attempts to convert. They find the unstoppable angle. Headhunter active, waiting for respawns. In comes Ying, but she's immediately slain. 2 more shots find Drogos for a double kill. Grok can't run away fast enough, no cover. The follow-up is devastating. And now, only 2 remain to defend. Chipped down with steady aim shots, they won't last for long. Bounty collected. That's a 2-0 start to this game.
You have much to learn, young matchman.
Wi-Fi's Makoa is deep in the front line. Their team seeks conversion on Serpent Beach. In the ancient, well, they'll need to not shell spin into statues fat. A quick flick takedown onto Meltamba makes up for it though. Their attention to Grog. Ghostwalk narrowly avoids the anchor, but it doesn't matter. Now to Torvald, far out of position. Recharge won't save you there, friend. Is that a kill secure IC? Bye, Victor. Quadra kill, but Penta's stolen as Stolzy takes out Charlene. Up next is Navadenyo on Tyra. They duel with Buck in Stonekeep's interior. Buck escapes the heroic leap, but marked they remain revealed. Tyra takes the high ground to ambush. Up the stairs they climb as Buck jumps straight to their doom. The Hunter always finishes their kills. One down, out goes Firebomb. Grenade launcher for the double kill as the flames wreath Victor and Inara. Fire beats stone, and the Warden returns to the earth from whence she came. Alone now lies Torvald with no support and nowhere to run. They're quickly picked off. A rampage, delayed pentakill, and advantage on the payload push. All in a day's work for Tyra.
The shadows rise around you.
Stolzy has somehow made it into 2 plays already today, but is yet to be the star, and it's time we give this legend a chance to shine. Pulled in, the Godslayer reversal and a flick shot eliminates Charlene, and now measured shots from mid-range poke out their opposition. Blue team advances. Grok doesn't recognize the danger though, and from the flank, Stolzy finds the kill, dashes back through to head off Torvald and picks up a double. What's that in the distance? Barrage incoming. Alright, Victor, let's play catch. Ultimate reversal from the 181 shots Ying, and Stolzy charges onwards for more. Spins 270 for the quick flick style play. That's 5 in a row for the NA showstopper.
I must break you.
It might say skill Ganon in the nameplate, but this play is all about the teamwork. Salvo doesn't find much purchase. Red team attempts to push. With a few rockets thrown out, it's time to kickstart the afterburners. Torvald sets up a defense. Dragon Punch is ready and channeled and bypasses the Runic Sage to take out Buck in the backline, who just can't get away. Thrust will close the gap back to the action, and Fusillade direct hits will close out the fight. Everyone down. The pathway is clear. Red team pushes on. It's Bonka on Ruckus, who now takes the aggressive positioning for dismount zoning. They set up far forwards and channel their fire down narrow angles. Charlene is ready to respond. Impaler Arrow doesn't find the stun though. Emitter keeps them alive, and as Torvald attempts to blow their opposition away, Hexafire answers back for a double kill. But Drogos is in danger. Thrust is on cooldown, but Rocket jumps and the self-damage for the survival thrust reset threshold is met, and Skill Ganon stays alive through incredible game knowledge as Bonka finishes off Buck and the payload rolls through. Thank you all for watching this episode of Paladins Top 5 Plays. To submit your own plays, check out the YouTube video description and fill out the submission form to show us what you're made of. Don't forget to subscribe to receive the Onyx Stallion mount skin in-game as well, and we'll see you next time.
Till we find answers within. Location not here. In shadows we all disappear. Hold on, switch gears. We're gone as fast as we appeared. Gone as fast as we appeared. watching the night go by. You're looking kinda sleepy. It's okay if you're all strung out, 'cause that's the way the party goes. You're taking pills from people's twice your size. You're looking kinda hazy. It's okay if your logic dies, 'cause that's the way the party goes. That's the way the party goes. That's the way the party goes. That's the way the party goes.
Hello and welcome then champions to today's grand final set in the ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 9 between 50 Shades of Snake and WASD Sports. My name is Hi-Rez Vox. I'm joined back on the mic once again by I Hold Shift, and let's check out the first picks coming through. On the left-hand side, it will be 50 Shades of Snake. Right-hand side, WASD, and the first pick, Makoa. Well, that's not unusual here, but right-hand side, Barrack and Ruckus together. That strikes me a little bit peculiar, but we are headed to Brightmarsh after all.
That is unusual, without a doubt, and to see the double frontliner come out so early, it leaves a lot of options for WASD. They get to take a look at what damage dealers, what possible supports are there. And to be honest, this is actually almost a dream draft right now for WASD. The Veldamba Ying choice is on the board for them if they decide they want to pick up a healer, which I imagine they would. They don't want to just handcuff them by kind of telegraphing what their support's going to be at the end, and it will be a Meldamba, and then taking, this is a good choice as well, taking some secure damage in the form of a direct damage dealer in Cassie. And this is a big topic we talked about on Monday on Second City Assault, was the fact that Cassie has really evolved in this this recent meta, especially after the last handful of small buffs that she's gotten, but the big one with the 30% movement speed during Scout has really let her explode back into viability.
She's got so much kill potential in that ultimate, but also it's the ability, I feel, that to be able to get away from Makoa at times. If Makoa pulls you in and doesn't flip you 180 or 360 sometimes to extend that Dredge Anchor duration, you can potentially roll away if dodge roll is available and avoid some of that bonus damage if Pluck has been selected, and we all know how much Theo loves to run that legendary. Other side of things though, 50 Shades of Snake, they lock in Victor and Ying as their last two picks, and then last pick overall goes through to creatives. What are you expecting to see here?
I'm actually surprised 50 Shades of Snake decided to go with the Victor and not a Shaolin. There are so many walls on this map, and the ability to get an Impaler just goes up. You know, the more and more you see the inside of the point, the payload path, all of them have very tight corners. It will be a buck, though, for some extra flank, and to be honest, this is a little peculiar again to me, just simply because Cassie, although we did mention that she does do decent damage, she's not one of those perennial top damage dealers like a Shaolin is or a Drogos is. But again, this map does not really cater as much to Drogos, simply because the inside of that point is very hard for him to get into, let alone find areas to throw salvos and Spitfires in. Buck, though, similarly also kind of seems to struggle simply because, again, there's a lot of ledges, balconies, outside awnings around the central part of the point that make it really difficult for him to heroic leap fox. So this is a strange pick, but I think a lot of this is just to put the pressure on top of the Victor and maybe match some of the mobility from Androxus and Bomb King.
And well, we all know how devastating the Bonker can be on Victor, and there's a lot of kill potential coming out of the 50 Shades of Snake team. So much sustain as well coming out from the side of WASD Sports, and they'll be going head-to-head, as we've said, on this new map, the newest one to join the map rotation entirely, Bright Marsh. So we saw a little bit of that in competitive play during last weekend, during the first week of open bracket qualifiers for Europe and North America for the path to DreamHack Valencia, but we didn't see any of it in last week's ESL. So I'm really excited to see how both of these teams elect to perform and elect to really utilize the whole new area of this map. So join us as we do get our spectator clients all synced up. We'll be into game number 1 of this best of 5 grand final set between 50 Shades of Snake and WASD Sports momentarily. And here we are then, as we get into game number 1 of this best of 5 final set between 50 Shades of Snake and WASD Sports. We're here on Bright Marsh. My name is Vox, joined by I Hold Shift. Shift, take me through the teams and what legendaries they're bringing to the table this time around.
Indeed, for 50 Shades of Snake, it will be Bird playing Ying, currently focusing Lens Sun Commander on the Androxus. He's going to be using the Dark Stalker. It will be Firefight for Bonker. The hip fire bonus damage, interesting. Lazy with Accelerant, using the Bomb King, and Pluck currently selected for Thiel on the Mako.
On the other side of things, Unbelievable will be for WASD Sports on the Maldamba. That's Unusual. Gamaka will be on Flux Generator Ruckus. Midastina on Bounce House Buck. Spunky on Architectonics. Barrack Creatives on Exaction Gassy. And it's very peculiar here to see Spunky not pick up the support role. Instead, it's going to be Unbelievable who's holding that one down. We'll have to see how they perform. Initial point fight being traded out. Control going through to briefly 50 Shades of Snake, but not finding much ground here early on. But can they find the chip damage before they get dismantled? No, Midastina says certainly not.
Yeah, Midastina is just so good at playing these flanker roles, whether it's an Androxus or obviously playing the Buck, able to find good areas. That's the biggest thing. It's not necessarily because he's a good mechanical player. Of course he's that. But he's able to find these opportunities to do the damage and survive. That's the biggest thing we see a lot of Bucks struggle with, is can you jump in and get back out and make yourself impacting? So far, the answer has been mostly yes, even though he did have the death. It does go to 72% though for WASD.
It was enough to gain initial capture control, and that's what matters here. Spunky on Barrack looks to charge down Thiel, but decides wisely not to go chasing that kill and continues to hold down the front line on the objective. Grumpy Bomb through in combination with Pluck Makoa. Spunky falling lower and lower. That's a good look for 50 Shades of Snake on the retake. And as Spunky and Kamika have fallen, now Unbelievable too, at 90% for WASD. 50 Shades come back in and start to lock this one down.
Yeah, just in the nick of time, 90%, and things were starting to get back in towards the outside positioning favor for WASD. Unfortunately, they just did not win the fights, though, and that leads to the conversion that we're currently seeing at above 66%. And we got to keep an eye on Spunky. He went with Field Deploy 4, 2.8 second reduction on deploying those turrets. It's essentially an instant deploy, and at 93%, he's going to need to find a way to get that setup going.
And it's just not going to happen. There's a trap laid outside the door as well, as Lazy makes sure that we won't have this Cassie dodge rolling in. Creatives gets shut down, and nobody from WASD could just close the gap onto the objective. There was so much kill potential coming through from 50 Shades of Snake that they didn't want to go in, and now they're going to have to try and set up on defense, but they're already scattered. Shift, look at the positioning.
Yeah, this is not good. Spunky is caught out completely, but he's doing a good job of getting damage done. He needs to stay alive, though, and he will not do so. So now the stagger, as you mentioned, Vox, even more real. 4v5 for a while, and this is going to lead to some aggression coming out for 50 Shades. You guys had mentioned last time that this is not the traditional play style they typically go for, but the opportunity is here, and they're making it punish. Bonker with a lot of damage. Sun Commander cleaning up, and this is where Sun Commander does well. Put him on the chase. Let him get a chance to get in there and do the damage he likes to do. That's what he's going to try to do with the Cassie, as he does find the last shot. So again, the stagger becomes even more real, as there's now 3 players down. Still a lot of cooldown on the death timers for 2 of the characters.
And it's a bit of a different playstyle, as you remarked on Sun Commander there, that we're used to seeing from him. You can see a headshot came out as he did manage to grab the flick on a Midastina. But running the Darkstalker Legendary is giving them so much mobility that they're able to counter out Buck relatively well on this Androxus. Whereas previously we've seen them run heads will roll, just looking for the direct damage. It seems that neither of them really matter. As far as legendary choices go, yeah, mobility might matter a little bit more in certain circumstances, but Sun Commander is just devastating, and with that in mind, payload rolls through very easily there, Shift. No contention at the end from WASD. I think a Dread Serpent got fired and then was shut down before it actually triggered as well.
Yeah, it did. They tried to throw that out to get that long distance backline push, but the Maldamba did fall very early on after that had gone through. It was very close to being triggered just by the channel time alone, but did fall and does retain that, so that is good. And it's also interesting to see, again, speaking of Sun Commander and that Darkstalker, he is also running Seething Hatred for hitting an enemy reduces the cooldown of reversal by 2 seconds, which is big to get that reversal back up. And then on top of that, using the Nether Step to heal. He does not have the Abyss Walker, where reversal will re-trigger the steps. He just is going for the straight normal cooldowns for it thus far.
No, but it was also interesting to see their movement speed granted after Nether Step, so just going from direct damage to a hyper-mobile playstyle, trying to keep himself alive. Big Dread Serpent coming out though from WASD, looks to break up the point fighter 50 Shades of Snake, but on the backside of this, it will be King Bomb being triggered by Lazy, looking for the damage and takes out Kamika as well, and that's 50 Shades of Snake coming fully out on top very early into this second point fight. A bit of a wild shot away from how they fared the first time around, looking very, very strong.
Yeah, this is not good for WASD. Not only is it 2 points to none, there's a lot of kill streaks on board. And if they find this 3rd point straight, they're going to have even more credits to their name. Buck Wild being used in the backline. It will be able to find one to help Comiker secure the kill. But Sun Commander is smelling blood in the water. Cassie's very low. Barrack very low. Ruckus very low. It's going to be really dangerous if WASD stays here. The Accursed Arm right on cue as it tends to get all the damage there. But Sun Commander missing a lot of shots. Lazy's going to help clean some of this up, though. We'll find one of the two. Sun Commander finding the second, just barely staying alive with above 300. Oh, Bastina getting the kill, though.
Yeah, going up, down, coming back in, resetting overtime. That's enough to buy time for Kamika to get back on the objective. Lazy fleeing now, has to be careful. But Spunky, is getting brought very low. Now it's Kamika back in as Spunky does fall. Will the emitter and will the repulsor field be enough to lock down this objective in combination with Gord? Not if the Let's Drajanka, and they do miss it. WASD Sports capture the objective. Misplay from 50 Shades of Snake going for kill potential rather than contesting. And that's what we talk about, folks. Objective presence wins you games. And if you don't step onto that point, then things will certainly not be going your way.
Feel had an Ancient Rage. I'm confused why he decided to not use that shell spin to get onto point. He used it just to kind of reposition himself, trying to find the Dredgeaker. He missed that. And then by that point, it was too late for him to get to point. I don't know why he just didn't go in and contest it. He had the opportunity. There's only 3 people around, and that 10,000 HP would have stood up against whatever damage was there.
You know, I'm wondering if to a degree as well, the players just aren't used to the comeback mechanic, which is now in Paladins, which Pretty Hair has been remarking on during the, the Summer Premiere qualifier cast, where if you're down 2 points, you will actually have an increased capture rate. And with that in mind, WASD Sports were able to equalize there so very quickly, and they're looking to continue pushing, but Unbelievable gets caught out. And that's not a good look for the team trying to push through this hold of 50 Shades of Snake. They're like constrictors here, and they have no intention of letting go of their prey.
Yeah, unbelievable with the panic hyper ult right there. Not able to really do much. He was by himself, throws the Dread Serpent straight at 2 of them, but there just was not enough time there for him to get enough damage to even kill 1, let alone 2. So a misplay by him. It would have been nice to hold that on and wait for a team fight, but regardless, it's already back to 17%, and Bonker now with these windows in his favor is going to have a nice tight corridors that throw a lot of nades. You see now he's using the hip fire as well just to get that extra damage done from the firefight legendary. That bonus 30% is a lot, but still the kills are coming up for WASD, and this is not the typical burrito hold that we normally associate, as Thiel also falls. So now it's just Sun Commander alive. The rest of WASD is getting aggressive.
Momentum here is the name of the game, and can WASD commit to it, and can they maintain it? 50 Shades of Snake are starting to respawn here. They're going to try and take the wind out of the sails of this red team. But if WASD can find a vital pick here or there, it could mean a very different game and a completely equal capture score shift. I gotta ask you, WASD, when they're looking up on this, looking up this hill towards the conversion point, who are they looking to make a pick onto immediately to make this push a little bit easier?
I mean, there's one of 2 that you have to look for. You either to get one of the damage dealers out, most notably the Victor would be the easiest target for a pull to get the extra conversion, but you need to find a way to deal with this front line. It's kind of the big thing. I mean, so either the Ruckus or the Barrack need to find a way to get rid of Thiel, and that's the big target. I mean, if you can get rid of the Makoa in any situation, whether it's a push or a conversion, you're going to give yourself a very big advantage. But either taking the Victor or the Bomb King down would be really very beneficial for them as well. Neither of them, the cooldowns on Poppy Bomb is not long, but you can blow it up. And Victor with the sprint you're able to track him down. So that's going to be the big 2 targets, but not the case there as it goes 3-1. Defense just too strong, and now we're dealing with a couple of cauterized 3s. That's not good for WSD.
No, but not good for 50 Shades of Snake either, as cauterized 3s are mirrored by Kamika and Mudastina as well, and Kratos also having built-in anti-heal. They're about even in terms of that, but it's the Haven pickups by 50 Shades of Snake which are really striking here, and Haven 3 on Bird is going to make them very difficult to kill because it is all direct damage coming through from the squad of WASD Sports, and that's going to take a lot of presence and pressure away from Mudastina, especially because whilst Buck is, you know, a big hyper-disruptive flanker with a lot of health, he just doesn't deal a lot of damage unless they're in their ultimate, and there it goes, and as quickly as we say it, there they go.
And that's the problem with Buck. You have this Buck Wild, you want to use it, you want to find a way to get the damage done, but if it's not the best opportunity, a 1v2 or a 1v1 that you can bounce around with, you get focused so quickly. And a nice counter ultimate play used by the Hexa Fire and the Dome Shield from Comiker and Spunky to try to take care of Lazy before he can get the King Bomb ult off him. And that was exactly the case, but still the numbers still favor the blue side of 50 Shades, and WASD are going to need to find a way to get a kill, probably on the outside first before they jump into point.
Somebody's got to close the gap as well. We know that Thiel certainly has that Ancient Rage available. It's going to be Dread Serpent used to kick things off, but Thiel is standing here and withstanding the pressure. Ancient Rage activated, just burning down Kamika, but Mudastina's finding blood on the objective. Can they hold this down? They're getting pressured away, and as the rest of their team falls and overtime is ticking, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to survive.
I'm particularly confused on the playstyle change between Unbelievable and Spunky. Unbelievable just threw another ultimate out into a Victor who he had to slither after, even just to put damage. There's nobody there. So his two missed Dread Serpents really didn't help his team whatsoever. And Spunky, we typically relate with the support role for WASD, but this kind of goes back for me to what WASD was throughout the Masters qualifiers, is they will not lock down who's playing what. They were the squad that came into Masters having the most variety across their team as far as how many different champions they played throughout the qualifying process. And once again, it seems like they can't make up their minds of who's going to play what.
And with that in mind, let's take a look at the scoreboard and do a quick bit of breakdown after that first game shift on Bright Marsh. And, well, the one thing which springs to mind is the amount of deaths coming out for the squad across the board to me on WASD. They were just picked apart that game and weren't really able to come back in. And, you know, they've got this new fantastic mechanical player on their team, Mudastina, which they picked up after the Masters LAN. And you can see there, whilst they picked up the most credits, or the second highest credits on their squad, they just didn't seem to have the impact that we might expect as they might have had on Androxus or even Drogoz, which they know that they have a reputation for. Buck seems to be having less and less impact as time goes by. Do you think the teams are starting to really figure out hard counters to them?
I think the biggest issue is Buck does not on himself do a lot of damage. Unless you're playing an absolutely phenomenal, near perfect game, you're not going to be top damage on your team, let alone the server. This number is definitely not one that you look for out of the Buck. And this was my biggest question coming in, is there's just not a lot of routes for Buck to go. There's a lot of tight areas, a lot of areas that he doesn't even have the ability to really jump and get that maximum utility out of his heroic leap. And here again, there are a couple of instances where Modestina got some opening frags and was able to get out. But the problem, because if you don't jump from one person to the next person to the next person, and you try to jump into a 1v3, which more often ends up happening due to the level of communication that 50 Shades of Snake has, you're just going to fall. You're not going to be able to get the damage down that you need. And I think that's exactly what we see here mimicked in the stat line.
And fall they did. And I do have some news for you, Shift. It is with a bit of regret, which I have to bring to you, unfortunately. WASD Sports are unable to field a full roster for the remainder of the duration of the finals and have elected to forfeit their position, which means that your grand final winners for this week by default then will be 50 Shades of Snake, although judging by their map 1 play, I can't have seen that set really going any other way than a 3-0 sweep unless there were some serious adjustments made by WASD throughout that game. We're currently checking in on the status of the bronze match to see if that's something which we can bring you on broadcast, and we do again apologize for this matter, but whilst we have a little bit of downtime, as map number 1 of that bronze match between Burrito and Flashpoint is currently going on Serpent Beach, Shift. We've got more ESL Paladins coming up later today, haven't we? We've got Europe right now, but what's coming maybe in about, it's 3 hours, what is it, 2 hours and 40 minutes or so?
2 hours and 40 minutes, almost exactly, Vox. Good math over there.
I almost caught myself there. I've got to stop doing math on the fly on cast. It never goes well. I am not the math guy. Well. No, but we do have ESL Paladins Rise the Champions Cup, North America, number 13. That was a bunch of words, not necessarily in the right order, but that starts at 7 p.m. EDT tonight. And if I'm not mistaken, you've come back on as a broadcaster for that.
I have. Me and MetaPusher have been working the commentary and kind of handling production on our own while we try to get the North American scene revamped and revised in. So we definitely encourage anyone out there who has a North American team, no matter how old, new, good or bad you may be. The experience is experience, crystal prizing on the line, and it will be live broadcast over on my personal channel at twitch.tv/iholdshift.
Was that a shameless self-promo plug?
I know it really wasn't. It was just a coverage awareness broadcast change.
But you should certainly tune in. You should certainly follow that channel to see when Shift goes live as well, because you broadcast some fantastic Paladins play on your own as well. Recently got your new PC up and running, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Goodness.
At last.
It's beautiful.
How's it feel?
It's a wonderful thing. It's great not to be streaming at 4 FPS.
Oh my
and
goodness.
480p. You have no idea. It's like my life has changed. It's like I've been living under a rock, and now I'm seeing it for the first time through.
You on 144 hertz too as well?
Oh yes, I am. It's gorgeous.
Oh my goodness. If anybody out there is playing Paladins, you're currently on a 60 hertz monitor, and you're looking at your PC and you're wondering like, oh, what upgrade should I get for my PC to bring my gameplay to the next level? Biggest thing I can recommend for you, if you've got the graphics card to be able to support a solid 144 hertz or even a solid 120 hertz, is get a higher refresh rate monitor, because oh my goodness, it's like you're playing a completely new game. It's a whole other world, and it ruins you. You can never go back to 60 FPS afterwards. But for the time being, everybody, we're going to go to a short break whilst we find out exactly what the plan will be moving forwards. We're going to try and bring you coverage of the third place set today, as we said, between Burrito Esports and Flashpoint, and we'll bring you updates as to how that's going as and when they come.
Just wanna feel like this forever. I love it when my feet don't touch the ground, touch the ground. Don't wanna let these colors fade, kaleidoscopes inside my head. Just wanna feel like this, just wanna feel like this forever.
Alright then everybody, Vox here, just bring you one final update for the day as we do close out this ESL Go4Paladins Europe Cup number 9. The European broadcast for this cup, or the English broadcast, will not be continuing to broadcast the bronze match placement, although we do have a French and a Polish broadcast running today. If you'd like to tune in and catch some of the action, that can be found, if I'm not mistaken, at twitch.tv/Zutriv and twitch.tv/Paladins Polska. So if you're interested in catching some more of the action, then we thoroughly recommend you go in and tune in over to those. For everybody who's been watching from YouTube today, we do once again apologize for that disappointment towards the end of the show today. We're looking forward to a good finals, and hopefully next week we'll be able to bring you just that. But we hope that you've enjoyed the broadcast, and we are definitely very glad to be able to broadcast to multiple platforms now, just to allow people who aren't necessarily a fan of watching on one or the other to be able to watch where they feel most comfortable. Of course, today, my name was Vox. I was joined by I Hold Shift and Hi-Rez Pretty Hair as my co-commentators, and we'll be back again next week. So thank you all for joining us. We do hope that you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't already, then we do have a giveaway, and if you haven't entered already, we do have a giveaway that is rolling and has been rolling for the duration of this stream. For those of you who are watching on Twitch, should have seen Moobot push that link out to you on about a 5-minute schedule. But for those of you on YouTube, make sure you check the live video description. You'll be able to find a link for that. It looks like we are giving away, if I'm not mistaken, an Invader Pip skin set. So if you haven't got that awesome cosmetic in-game right now, then, well, definitely make sure you check that out. Get on board, and we'll be drawing the winners later next week. Otherwise, once again, thank you all for tuning in. If you've been watching on YouTube, this is goodbye for now. But if you've been watching on Twitch, we're going to go and find somebody to host until that ESL NA broadcast starts up a little bit later, and the rest of the normal streaming schedule resumes.